YouTube, we're gonna try to fly this again. This is the Carbon Cub S2. Formerly the Carbon Cub S Plus GPS. We're flying it on 2200 3S Smart Pack. This is provided in the ready to fly, as is a USB style charger that charges a Smart Pack, and that's pretty awesome. And it comes with the DXS. Has a little status light that tells you on the transmitter, it tells you what the battery level is inside. You can see with that light on the front what mode you're in, which is really nice for when you're setting up the GPS and setting up the monitor, or not the monitor, the land sensor, which I am currently not using. You press this and it pops out. So that's that. We've already flown the plane once today. We thought it was gonna calm down, and it's still not quite calm, but it's gonna calm a little bit more than it was earlier. So we're gonna do this. Throttle cuts here, high and low rates, high currently, and then the modes of action here, and then this is reserved for flaps on channel 8, which is awesome. So then there's a manual that shows what way to move the sticks to designate how you want the geofencing set up if you do geofencing, which again, we do not have the GPS option installed. And yes, there is a bind button that acts as a panic button. So without further ado, thing taxis like a daydream. The only problem we had on the first flight was the fairings, or the wheel pants. We're in beginner mode. That's not the limited bank angle there yet. It's a lot calmer than it was. Okay, we're in experience now. You can see from the evil eye on the windshield. I'm gonna go up to the corner so I know where you are. Over the moon. Of course, we're in experience now. Back to beginner. We'll show you the limited bank angles, about 50% throttle. There's your limit, and yes, it does hold level pretty good, but you see we got a little bit of a descending there. So I'm having to ride the elevator as I do it. When I say ride the elevator, I mean pull back on the stick a little bit. So instead of just going to the left, I have to pull back some, okay? So you see that? Keeps the plane at generally the same attitude or altitude. Okay. Can't handle it anymore, it's too beautiful. I do find myself riding the throttle pretty hard on this plane because I don't have flaps. I can't slow it down as slow as I'd like it to be. It does gloriously in grass, which we'll show you in just a second. I think it might be just a touch heavier than it had been before, or at least it's flying kind of like that. Not necessarily a problem though, it's just, it has ample power. As you can see, I can keep it right where I want it without any problem, but you gotta be not afraid to use a little bit of throttle to get you there. Very easy to control and negotiate in the real world. Gets a little bit lackadaisical at the top of the loops, but as you can see, it's got a pretty good amount of ups, definitely not unlimited vertical. Very maneuverable. The only thing that's not stock about this plane right now is where I stuck it in the holes, which was on the rudder. I stuck it on the inside hole, and on the elevator I stuck it on the inside hole as opposed to the outside hole. So that is going to impact the amount of performance we get drastically. Okay, we'll go into regular beginner mode rather. We'll just show you what it looks like to kind of guide it in here. I'm just kind of pointing it the direction I want to go, and nice little grass landing. Okay, that was no cheating. I'm just using one hand to take off and land there. Okay, so you'll notice it's not exactly as stolish as you might expect because we don't have any flaps yet. We will. We're going to show a review of that. How to do it. We'll probably just use whatever 9-gram servo we've got lying around. I got a bunch of Metal Gear Emax servos. I'm sure Horizon will really appreciate me using those. But that's okay. I love them. Get it flying, and then you can just go right back to what you were doing. You're probably thinking to yourself, Brian, you're getting really aggressive with that plane. Yes, I am, and I'm liking it. But you can slow it down. I just feel like this plane doesn't really like to be flown as slow right now because there's no flaps there to help slow it down. And we're fighting a little bit of crosswind, which always forces your hand because you don't want the plane to get away from you. Very good rudder authority and stall turns. You can really get it in and knife edge nicely, which is cool. As you can see, I've been knife edging like most of the whole flight. Enough power to get out of trouble. But with flaps, you can really get out of trouble. Okay, let's show the people a nice little landing on the driveway, inexperienced. Little bouncy wounce, no big deal, I can live with that. Woo, had a bug. Okay, we'll do a takeoff. Grass is probably about 3 inches, 3.5 inches tall there. It was cut earlier this week. Let's take it in the backyard here. Oh, it's so gorgeous. My camera crew had expressed some concern earlier on our flight this morning that the plane felt or looked a little bit out of control. And I think what she was experiencing was just the sheer wind. We had pretty strong winds. And normally on a plane like this, you really don't have to push it so hard. And you can see kind of the customary tail wiggle or wheel wiggle that we've all experienced on the original Sport Cub, which was red and white, the 1.3 meter. And then the second, which would have been the Carbon Cub S Plus GPS. This is the version 2 of that one, or the third Sport Cub, if you will. Esteban, my #1 cameo on this channel, you're in the runway. Thank you. He has that plane and still flies it. It's the only one that he can keep alive for very long. Esteban, I hope you're watching. It does look a little evil with that eye. Did you see what I did there? Mm-hmm. Okay, back in crazy mode. There's panic. You can see panic turns light green. And when I let go, it stays green, and then it goes back to evil. Evil eye. I don't know if I mentioned it in the earlier video, mostly because it was extremely bright and sunny. But these sunglasses, these Banggood sunglasses I've been wearing have been working out really nice. Here it is, getting dark, and I'm just wearing them like I was before. See, wearing them like I was before. I don't have to take them off my head, but I'm gonna take them off my head now. They've been working really nice. They're frameless, and I've been just kind of fiddling with these nose bumpers. They've been working really well. I think I said they were like $9. I might have been wrong. Sorry, guys. Anyway, I got links to the awesome sunglasses in the description next to the awesome plane.
It's like the least you've complained about sunglasses.
Well, okay. I haven't destroyed them yet.
That's true.
So guys, I know that sometimes on these planes, when you see me flying them, I'm trying to fly them so you can see them. You don't have to fly so aggressively, but look at that awesome, gorgeous backdrop. I want to go about half the speed I'm going right now, but you do need some flaps to accomplish that on this plane. And you want to definitely get it moving so that it doesn't have that tendency to want to fall out of the sky, because it's got a little bit of weight to it. I'd be lying if I said any different, but it's got a powerful ESC. It's got all this tremendous technology built in. I wouldn't even say it comes at a, like a consequence of weight, because there's not really a weight penalty. It just happens to be that this plane carries a little bit of weight up in the nose. The other thing is we're flying on 2200 3S, and the smart packs are definitely a lot smaller than the original packs. But the 1300 milliamp compared to the 2200 like we're flying on now does definitely take a toll on the overall weight of the vehicle. There's somebody attacking our hay structure. So the other night we had a crop duster going over, and it was an air tractor. And then this morning, my wonderful camera crew was being woke by another crop duster.
On Saturday.
Yay.
6:30.
Because we love that. If I would have known, I would have wanted to see, but the thing is, it was 6:30, so yeah, I don't really care that much.
Somebody else was snoring, so they didn't see it.
I don't know if you guys can tell, but there is a ramp. We got spectators. There's a ramp on our trailer, and it's up right now. So whenever I do a maneuver over on this side, I have to be mindful of it because it's kind of hard to see. And when you first start flying, you have a tendency of hyper focusing on the plane and forgetting to watch the surroundings. And what's really cool is, because we film almost every flight I do anymore, I get to go back and watch the flight just like you do. When you're flying, you have to fly the territory and the terrain. You have to watch what's around you, not necessarily just watching the beautiful plane, which it is exactly that. But you have to fly what's ahead of you, and you have to fly what's around you. And then also you have to be watching for wind and stuff. When it calms down, it's a lot simpler. Man, look at, there's some evil thing inside of that plane.
You couldn't see it hardly at all earlier today.
No, you couldn't even tell it was there. Should I do some upside down flight for these people? He'll do upside down flight all day long, guys. I'm not really like a big fan of flying upside down. Didn't want to come out of it very much. Kind of wanted to flop out of it. Am I going around the moon from your perspective?
Almost. Oh, you hit the moon that time.
Oh, dang it. I'm trying to triangulate from your location where it is.
There you go.
Man, what a beautiful sky we've got tonight.
Yeah.
Let's go back over behind the house and we'll show them the purple. Is there any purple over there right now?
No, not right.
We always seem to get purple back here. One thing I can tell you is that in the experience mode, I'm not sure if they've mixed in any rudder with the ailerons, but I kind of feel like it'd be nice if they would have a little bit more built-in coordination, because with the amount of expo they put onto this controller, you really got to yank the stick to get any coordination. And when I say coordination, for those of you that are new flying, Okay, going into beginner. I feel bad. This is a beginner plane and I'm flying it like crazy, man. That's why the landing gear gets screwed up on this plane. Because you do stupid things like that. You see, they're splayed out a little bit. Thing I like about this plane, and it's been true on the original Sport Cub, is you can just take it and just literally bend it forward. I know it looks bad. Now, if you haven't already seen it, we already fixed our plastic. What are you doing? Show them from here. See? We already fixed these things with one single zip tie, and then all we have to do is just after a horrific landing like that, we just have to snap them back on and it's no big deal. Otherwise they pop off. But you can just grab the landing gear and just kind of bend it back. What'll happen is over time, you're gonna get toe out and you kind of wanna, you know, avoid that. Nobody wants their toe hanging out.
No.
There's the manned aircraft. We are gonna definitely yield to him, but we're gonna get in the same shot at the same time. Oh no! I don't know if I'm out of battery here. I've got one solid green light left. Do you want to show the people at home here? Oh, it's flashing.
Just started flashing.
So this morning, we flew until we were at 0% on the battery. So I think we're gonna have to replicate that again. Throttle cuts on. See the one green light? Hold, camera crew. Thank you. The one green light means that it's about ready to give me the low voltage warning. And what I usually like to do is I fly like, you know, over the top of power lines or behind the house or
Really far away.
really far away or whatever I shouldn't be doing. That's when I tend to do it, is when my low voltage warning is about to go. So we're gonna try for that again and see if we can
Awkward to hold.
make it live. I know, without the handle. It's kind of weird. Okay, that's half throttle. Riding the elevator a little bit here so I can keep it moving so slow. I mean, it wants to fly, guys. Make no mistake about it. So I'm actually below the runway and coming up along it. That prop is just noisy. I could probably balance the prop with some tape and I would probably add a minute of flight time, I'm guessing. Because a noisy prop is wasting a lot of energy. Not because the plane has a predisposition to a quiet prop, but just it means that you're wasting what could be used for pulling the plane. Come on, you never gonna run out of power here? So on a scale of 1 to 10, this plane flying compared to the Apprentice Mini, because that was of recent review and still on sale, I believe, for like a few seconds. Actually, by the time you guys see this, it might not be on sale, so I shouldn't say that. Compare this to the Mini Apprentice regardless of sale status. I think that this plane is way cooler looking, but I think that the Mini Apprentice is an awesome flight aid. This one is definitely a good flying plane. I think it's gorgeous. It has some super technology built in that's way too complicated for a beginner. Horizon, if you're listening, I don't mean to be little your hard efforts, but I can tell you this. The stuff you've added into this plane is so freaking complicated. If you get a beginner to be able to read through a manual like that before they blow in that battery and start crashing it, I think you are wrong. If I was a kid and I opened that box, this thing would be assembled so fast, I don't think you'd see the pieces separate. It would just be immediately crashed. And I'm joking about the crash, guys. It flies wonderfully, and safe is an excellent flight aid. But some of the other technology that's been added to this plane, I just, you know, like smooth landings. Ooh, I just got a beep. Did you see that wing drag?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't sound very good.
No, it didn't.
Oh, one of my wheel pants is fluttering. Man, it does look good, doesn't it?
Yes.
I've always been very partial to the Sport Cub, Carbon Cub. That was awesome. These smart batteries, low voltage. That's our cutoff. Oh, come on, the worst landing of the day. That's what it sounds like.
Your pants are loose.
You wanna help me with that? Throttle cuts on. Camera crew, could you hold this, please? Mm-hmm. Show them the flashy light. So this thing came loose, no big deal. How did it get that direction? That's crazy. Okay, so basically we just need to snap that back on. I almost wonder if the better way to manage this would be to just go ahead and put zip ties on it right away.
That's what I was just gonna ask you.
Because to be honest, it's like they just pop off too easy, but no big deal. I mean, that's a manageable issue.
Yeah.
This plane is a great trainer. It really is. The high wing is wonderful. Its tendency to not want to stall anyway, but that's a stall on this plane. Except for if the wind is blowing really hard and you move this wing really fast and the wind causes this wing to have zero airspeed and it tips. In the RC world, we call it a tip stall, but in the real world, they just call it a stall. At least I've heard from many like full-scale pilots, they don't know what a tip stall is. It's just a stall or it's not. But everybody in the RC community seems to call it a tip stall. That's fine. Everything on this plane works well together. I feel like Horizon has finally really refined the safe technology, the smart technology. It's all kind of wrapped up into a really well thought out plane. However, that thing on the bottom and the GPS is totally unnecessary. If you're new to this hobby and you want to fly this plane, you should be able to fly this plane on beginner with a big enough airfield and preferably with a little bit of support from an experienced pilot. You will be flying this thing the first day you go out to the field, no problems. Now, landing it in tall grass will totally absolve you of any mistakes. If you land in short enough grass, you're probably gonna have to play with your fairings or your wheel pants, and you're probably gonna get a little bit of wear and tear on the fuse. If that's the worst you have, trust me guys, it's a lot better than spending 3 months on a balsa built plane and crashing it in 30 seconds like we did when we were kids. So that being said, this thing is amazing. It's got some good size to it, 1.2 meters. It's big enough that you can fit it in a car. Probably in the trunk of an average car, this thing will go. Taking the wing off is not gonna be real convenient, but you could hypothetically do it. You have to undo 2 screws on the bottom and then 4 screws on the top. But I would not be taking it apart. This thing is so small. You can stick it between the seat and the, you know, like the back seat and the front seat. Mm-hmm. And then you can also, you know, what other system comes with the transmitter, charger, and battery? And it's a smart battery. It's not some junky battery. You can use that in other planes, like for instance, the Apprentice. Now the weird thing is, and this is one thing for you guys to consider as you're considering this plane, if you are considering it, and you should, the DXS is new for Horizon. I'm not super familiar with it. I don't like the absence of the handle, but there is a slot to put your hand in. That being said, it does make it a lot smaller because that little handle makes these things darn near twice as wide. Mm-hmm. So you need to keep that in mind as you weigh whether or not you dislike that feature. I really like the gimbals. They feel more solid than the DXE did. They're probably the same gimbals. Maybe my DXE is just junky, but in the Apprentice Mini, I felt like the gimbals were not as high quality. This has extra switches. That's another huge benefit. Yes, you can add flaps. All you need is 1 gram servo. Horizon, really? One servo for $300? One servo? Yes. Should have been in there. Look at this. That white thing on the bottom? No. Servo? Yes. GPS module? No. I agree wholeheartedly with that upgrade. The GPS module made this thing way too hard to set up for the first time. You only have to set it up once, by the way, guys. You only have to set it once, but you have to retrain the takeoff position before you take off. There's a quick setup guide that is included with the manual. Make sure that you observe that if you're flying in a flying field, because you got to taxi it out and then get on the field and then go ahead and set your home or your takeoff position, because it is positionally dependent on where you are in space and time, okay? So if you set it here, you know, on your table at the flight field, and then you go out there to the flight line and take off, it's gonna try to land on your table, okay? So seriously, you need to be careful. Actually read and understand the instructions on that. I did not. I read through them so I could help somebody out earlier, and it was no big deal. It looked pretty simple, but setting the compass on this is a pain. You got to do, you know, like this, and then that, and then all this, you know, that, and then this, and then that, and then next thing you know, you drop a plane and you're like crying, and people think less of you because you're crying as a grown man about an airplane. So anyway,
That happened a few times.
You don't want that to happen. So that being said, if you're new to this hobby, you've just seen the second flight. The Maiden was very windy. We're gonna put that at the very end of the video. So if you wanna skip to it, just check the description below and we will show the timestamps for the beginning of the first flight, the beginning of the unbox, the beginning of the build and setup, radio setup. It's all kind of the same thing because this is pre-bound to the plane. However, you can bind a different transmitter. You can also do a bind and fly configuration, which I will probably do, maybe, because I want my son to be able to fly this with this transmitter while I use my DX18 on another plane. I would like to fly this or fly my Carbon Cub while my son flies the Carbon Cub. Mine will be the 2.1, his will be the 1.3 meter, which will be just awesome.
If you bind that to the DX18, does it stay bound to that, or do you have to switch back and forth?
You know, that is a good point. Technically, you can bind another transmitter to that receiver. It will be bound to both, I believe. But this can only be bound to one receiver at a time, from what I understand, of the DXS. Same is true, I believe, on the DXE. What happens is there's a unique identifier on this transmitter, on this radio, and there's a unique identifier on that receiver. And they address each other in that way within the 2.4 gigahertz bandwidth. Then on the DX18, you can do the same thing. So that is a very good point, camera crew. So I could hypothetically set that up. However, when we do the flat mod, we are gonna use this stock radio just so that you can see that it can be done. And it can be really, it already says channel 8 on the flight controller. So it's ready to go. Man, what a beautiful sunset. Look at this. Look at the clouds moving slowly. We got airplanes flying.
Turned all pink. It's
We've got
100 degrees like it was earlier.
We got this beautiful thing here. Yeah. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. There's more to come. Right now, you don't even need to go to another video. It's just gonna start right away. We're gonna start with the unbox, build and setup, and then you can watch for the windy flight at the end. Buy one. Description below. You help support the channel. A few bucks at a time goes a long ways, and you're gonna buy it anyway because this thing is awesome. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you guys coming back. We wouldn't have this channel if it wasn't for you. If it was just us and 500 people, you know, it'd be awesome for us, but it wouldn't go anywhere. So without support from you guys, this channel has gone places, which is really cool, and we're really humbled by that, especially my camera crew, who is awesome and the best in the industry. Also, 16 years of marriage yesterday. So, good old anniversary weekend celebration. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips coming to you with an anniversary special, because we all know that good husbands come home with boxes of airplane for their anniversaries. Seriously, it is our anniversary.
Better be flowers in that box.
Pretty sure there's not.
Or chocolate peanut butter ice cream.
Should I stop now? So anyway, yeah, I married this chick a few years ago. I shouldn't say, because then people will be able to figure out how old we are, because we're getting to be old farts.
Nobody ever believes how old we were when we got married.
Yeah. Well, we were approximately 20, and it's been 16 years. So we're old. Guys, look at this beauty. What was that?
I don't know.
Was it? Did you see it? Let's pause it and check. A little bit of movie magic there. We flipped around the box. So these huge boxes, some of them are ridiculous when you pull them out. This is going to be an awesome plane though. This is the Carbon Cub S2, 1.3 meters. And yes, it comes equipped on the old version with this annoying creation, which sounds funny because I shouldn't be saying that, but I don't like it. I'm not using it. But you can get it, and it is compatible with this device. So you can use it. Did you get a shot of it?
Mm-hmm. Well,
so if you insist, if you want to have the geofencing, you can use that GPS device to actually adapt into this, okay? So they mentioned that this is in Real Flight too. Real Flight's a simulator that Horizon offers. I don't know, maybe one of these days I'll do like a review where my camera crew films me playing it on computer. This is gonna be an awesome plane. I have flown it, full disclosure. I borrowed it from somebody at a flight field one night. I only flew it once, and I about pooed my drawers when I hit the geofence. It was scary because it was going, oh wow, look at that awesome. But if you are a novice and you don't mind a little bit of jumping through hoops to set it up, it is a really good potential saver of flyaways. I'll be honest with you guys. I have never had a flyaway myself, but my neighbor that I was teaching to fly, wife pulls in the driveway. Hey, how you doing, honey? Let's talk for a few minutes. Oh, there's an airplane in the air? Oh yeah, better get back over to this. Don't do that, okay? Keep flying. When you fly, it is your primary focus.
You found it though.
Other than your wonderful, loving, caring camera crew and wife. And you still ignore her if you're flying until you get a chance to land. Okay, here we go. Or maybe your wife is flying with you. Of course, I don't know what that's like.
Nope. You don't. Sorry.
We're gonna open this thing right now before I get myself in trouble
it's
on my
upside down.
anniversary. Is
There
it?
you go. No, you're good now.
Okay. Okay, so this also has panic recovery and safe. So it's basically like full safe and not just safe select. Safe is, okay, good.
Yep.
Safe is, and by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, but this one happens to be the, which one is it?
I don't know.
It's not checked. How am I supposed to tell? Oh, well, this would be ready to fly. So it's got the transmitter. So the reason I wanted to show you the ready to fly versus the bind and fly, obviously I have a DX18 and I have a DX9 as well. And then I have a DX5 and a DX5E and a DX4i and a DX whatever else. And I love them all. But I mostly really like my DX18. It is one of those investments you make when you buy a nice radio system in this hobby. As soon as you know you're hooked, just do it. Don't waste time, just get one. You will enjoy it enough to pay for it time and time again. So we have a fat manual on this one. My goodness, look at this.
That's crazy.
Talks about the geofencing in this little section here. I'm gonna go ahead and.
A decal or something in there too.
Yeah, there's decals, yep. And there's actually a lead stuck to this tape. That's a little bit weird. As usual, par for the course, really good packaging from Horizon. Looks like this one comes with a DXS. Whoa! There's switches and stuff here. That's awesome. I wonder if that, so look, we got two switches, three-way and three-way. I wonder if we could do flaps. That'd be awesome. So this is different than the DXE. I haven't seen this before. Because we have the DXE for that other plane that we did the other day, right? The Mini Apprentice.
Was that the Was that the DXE?
Yeah, I thought it was a DXE. Maybe it was a DXS, and I just didn't think about it right. But either way, it comes with this. This one looks like it takes 4 AA's, but it's also got.
Can you put a?
Yeah, you might be able to put a lipo in there.
That would be nice.
That is nice. So you could potentially put a safe lipo in there. Yeah, it says 4 1.5 volt AA's or a 300 milliamp possibly. It says 300 milliamp on there. So I'm sure the manual will discuss that. I'm going to be using AA's because that's what it comes with, guys. Look. See? Mm-hmm. When you get the Chinese stuff, you don't get the AA's. But I think largely that's because of where they ship from.
Yeah.
Wait. It came with this thing. What is that?
What is that?
This is a model SPX.
It's a charger.
What? Oh, it's a charger. Wow, look at that. It's got an IC3 connector and a balanced charge terminal. So you can plug in up to 4S. It looks like 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I lied, guys. That's a 3S connector there. So obviously you'll be able to charge this. It came with this thing, though. What is this? What is that? It's like a light? I'm not sure what that is. I guess we're going to find out what it is. Looks like some sort of a transmitter. We're going to have to look at that. That's so weird. I thought these were batteries. And it comes with a USB-A to USB-C cable. Ooh, that rubber band's awesome. I'm going to keep that for other projects. My wife loves that. USB-C, USB-A. Okay? So USB-C plugs into the charger here. I don't know why it's not black to match. That's a little bit hokey, but whatever. All right, so what else do we have in here? This box, I ripped it opening it, unfortunately, so I'm going to toss it. Otherwise, I would keep it into perpetuity. You're welcome. That's an anniversary special for you, camera crew. Whoa, we got some wheels stuck. Looks like decent wheels. Not very squishy, but they're a little bit lower density. Squish my wheels. Give them a good squish.
Oh.
Yeah, see, they're not as bad.
Do you want them to be softer?
Yes. But, I mean, these are fine for this plane. Softer wheels are a little bit more forgiving on the airframe and all that good stuff. So I am seeing a receiver in there I do not recognize. So I'm all excited to get down to it, but I got to work my way down to it. They have a lot of tape on this packaging.
Yeah,
this is abnormal. Before I go to that, I'm going to just pull out this, looks like the wing joiner there, and then some wheel pants. Always got to put your pants on, one leg at a time, just like the rest of your wonderful YouTube reviewers. These are float adapters, so this will be used if you get floats. Looks like we got the leading edge, or not leading edge slats, but rather the vortex generators. Beautiful little detail there. That's cool, so that's in the bag. We're gonna keep this stuff for a later time. This does not come with the floats, they're optional. You can get floats, but it looks like the floats, they show on the box. The lighting is kind of such that it almost looks like it could be silver, but I'm pretty sure they're white. So that's a little bit of a disappointment. If you're gonna get the floats, you're gonna want them to be silver so they match this beauty. And this plane is beautiful, make no mistake. Carbon Cub 2.1 meter, the Carbon Z Cub, if you will, is a gorgeous plane. And if you were thinking, mixing this up, this is the middle size, okay? So you'll notice it comes with beautiful decals. The flaps can be very easily installed. It's got a linkage and everything. All you have to do is just put in one servo, I believe, and it actuates both of those. That tape looks nice. Looks like they painted that in place. Look how long the linkage is on that thing. That's crazy. Nice thick wing. Looks really nice. Looks like it's got the hollow core fabric wrapped like it would be in real life. And then of course the vortex generators, which we're gonna get back to this, but let's go ahead and cut this open just so you can kind of see what we're dealing with. The contents of this bag intrigues me a little bit because I think it's the wing supports. Okay, so they got the double-sided foam tape, so that's nice. On the Carbon Z Cub, they had a crappy double-sided, like thin tape. Didn't work well at all. And yes, these are directional. Okay, see how there's a little roll on it. So you'll be able to tell what direction. That was another complaint on the Carbon Z Cub I had forgotten about. Hollow carbon fiber spar, really strong. Feel it. Grab on my shaft there, camera crew. How was that? Good? So we've got these. Those feel kind of junky, but it'll be okay. This plane doesn't even really technically need them, but they just look awesome. So I'm really glad that they have them. This plane is 1.3 meters is a great size class. If you're just learning to fly, this is a great plane to learn to fly with. I would not recommend myself, personally. Horizon's gonna tell you to do it, but don't get the GPS, just do it without, because I feel like the GPS just overcomplicates things a lot, and you don't need that extra complication as you're learning to fly. And to be honest with you, I've only had the negative side effects, which is setting it up, and man, this is a complicated box. Look at all these pieces.
Yeah.
Horizon does a great job of shipping this stuff, so if you order it online, which most of you will, if you're watching it on here, you're probably making a decision to purchase. If you do decide to purchase, please purchase from the links that we have in the video. You help support our channel a lot. Man, this is a really nice finish on here. It's nice and smooth. You can only see these little mold releases. They're just a little dimple instead of that like 9 like that. Those are usually the patterns you see there. Big ailerons. Everything, of course, is done on the clevises and everything, so we'll see how they line up. Obviously, we have just the one aileron plug on either side. This plane is probably worth getting flaps on it right away, but I just don't know if I want to show that on the build and setup, because a lot of you guys that are just getting into this might not be really ready for flaps.
Do it stock first. Don't you think?
It's designed to receive flaps.
Well,
that's the problem. Beautiful. Okay, this is a pinch foam hinge. So you can see there's no reinforcement there. That's a little bit of a bummer. There is reinforcement here, but it's limited. It's just, it looks like a piece of fiberglass. It might be a really thin piece of carbon fiber, but it's painted, so I can't tell. And then if you look at this, yeah, it's just that middle, support there, folks. So that's gonna be decent. You gotta remember, this is not gonna be like an extreme performance plane. This is not like the Carbon Z Cub where you're hammerheading and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. You could probably actually do that with this plane, but it's not gonna have unlimited vertical, that's for sure. I really, really like the simple design, but I like that they've done a lot of detail on the cowling. This is a lot prettier than the original one. If I recall, it was a lot less detailed. I really like this black, that looks cool. This guy's kind of ambiguous. I can't tell, like, is he looking away from us? Does he have like a nose? I don't know. What is that? There's an LED on it.
That white thing goes.
What?
Don't you think?
No, that's some sort of, that's an LED. I don't even know what it is. Well, I guess we're gonna find out what it is like right now, but I'm not sure what it is. We have to read that thing. There's a book. There's a book.
To read the manual?
Yeah, I know. Like, what's that all about, Horizon? Seriously, can't.
So like an anniversary card stuck in it somewhere?
Probably not. Okay, so reinforcement up here. That's a good place for reinforcement. Shameless advertising for Safe Plus. Carbon Cub Super Sport, Light Sport. Well, which one is it? Super or light?
Super light.
This is reinforced with tape. You'll see clear tape. It's very hard to tell on the video, I'm sure. But there is tape because that feels flimsy otherwise. You got to keep in mind there will be some support from the linkage itself. All right, so what else do we have? Is that all the pieces?
Is there anything on the bottom?
I think we have all the pieces. Let's go ahead and verify that right now. Yep. Carbon Cub S Plus. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and pause, get the foam out of the way, and come right back. All right, guys, so we're gonna be flying this on a 2200 3S Smart Pack, which is the 30C. So this is 3S, meaning 3 cells in series, hence the S. And then the way that works to charge it with the provided charger is you basically take and plug your balance lead into this, or this is the discharge lead. It's got an extra pin in the middle. That's what makes this different from an IC3 from an EC3. Okay, and then you basically plug this in, and there's keys to keep it lined up right. You see how there's those tabs there? It can only plug in, and then there's a minus sign to indicate what direction it goes. So you can plug that in and then just plug this into any regular USB port. So I'm just gonna show you on this Spectrum 30 amp power supply because, you know, it's awesome. Except I'm gonna use this one because I've got all our lapel mic charging gear. So just plug this in and you can see there's a light that comes on. It's very simple and it's charging. Okay, so now real quick, I'll show you on the smart charger. Why don't we use this one? This is the S1100, which is a, yeah, you'll notice we have a lot of chargers. Charger, 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 power supply. We can charge really fast. So this one's super nice. For those of you who don't know what you're doing, you plug it in. Then it asks you to do other things sometimes. In this case, it's gonna ask me to plug in the power lead or the balance lead, which is this thing. So we just plug that in, and then it's initiating the smart charging. By the way, it's really hard to film these things because their black backdrop makes them show up really bad on camera. But they are beautiful in person. So it's at 99%, charge rate's 2.1 amps, and the charging capacity charged shows you how many milliamp hours have been forced into the battery. Okay, so this is obviously a much upgraded version. This is a smaller version. This is the S1200. It's just a smaller version. You can use a battery to plug into it to charge. So like if you had a bigger pack, you could use a bigger pack. And just show you what happens when you unplug it. It stops charging. It's very nice for people that don't know what they're doing or just getting into the lipos. But if you're going for the Primero, this is what I would recommend for most people that are getting into it. If you want to have more than one battery, this is the best way to go. I think because it's the S2100, it's going to give you the best bang for your buck. You're going to be able to charge 2 of them at a time. That's so weird. It looks blue in the display, but it's black right now. It's gray. So it's the same thing. You just plug it in, and then you can plug this in, and you pick which channel you want, and you start it. See, it's already set up. You only have to set them one time. And to be honest, they're already set to the right charge rates. Then this thing charges, it takes off and goes. So the advantage on the S1100 is that it shows the status bar with that big long depiction of a battery, which is really nice. In this case, this one's done. So it says fast charging done, and it shows you your cell count. And then if you scroll, you can see the internal resistance of the packs. Of course, the internal resistance hasn't been calculated yet because it hasn't had enough time to demonstrate that. So we're just gonna shut all that stuff off. Obviously, I probably won't use this charger style, but if you had this in your car and you had your cell phone charger, you could plug into it and then you could energize this and therefore plug into your battery and charge it, which would be super nice. So this battery's done and ready to go. Real quick, lipo safety. 2 things hurt you in this hobby, generally speaking, and it's not running into yourself with a plane, although you can do that. They're made of foam. They don't usually hurt you, but just avoid that. The second is props, and the first is lipos. Be careful with lipos. If you use safe packs, you are going to be largely protected because they are much easier to use. If you're not familiar with lipos, spend some time watching some of the 1,500 plus videos that we have on our channel, and I talk about them a lot. Lipos store a lot of energy in a very small package. These are way smaller than they were when they weren't smart. These things self-balance and self-discharge. The #1 maintenance item that people never do on lipos, including myself, I got a bunch of batteries that are basically garbage right now, probably 200 batteries that are garbage because they're not safe. And that's why one of the biggest reasons I started using the safe is because, the smart is because they last like twice as long in flight, which is incredible. They have a lot more punch, which they shouldn't because they're actually rated lower than what I was using. This is a 30C. I was using 60C. And it was a bunch of malarkey because they didn't work near as good. These things are awesome. I would highly recommend them. And they cost twice as much. But believe me, you're gonna get 3 times the life, you're gonna get 3 times the battery, and you're gonna get 1/2 as much headaches. Because when these things self-discharge, you don't have to do any maintenance, you just use them. And then when you're getting ready to fly, plug them in, set them. And you can set them to discharge as long as 240 hours. Is that 240 hours away from when you are done charging? or you can set them as frequently as like an hour. So like after an hour, it starts discharging. So it just depends on what your application is.
And you can also, you don't have to use that feature.
No, you can
turn
shut it
that
off. You can make it so it stays.
Yeah.
But the cells are always internally balancing each other. So like the balance port becomes somewhat irrelevant, even though they ask you to plug it in, you can skip that step on the smart chargers. And yes, you can charge these on an old antiquated style, not smart, like the idiot chargers. I have plenty of idiot chargers too, and they're awesome too. So if you choose to just get one of these to try it out, get the one that you like. This one's actually really economical. It's not twice as much, but if you get up into the 6S, you can spend, you know, double the garbage brands like I was using before. And I'm serious about that, guys. I was wrong on that. When these things came out, I was like, it's totally stupid because it's more expensive. No, these things are awesome, and they are every bit as good as they say they are. So go with them. Okay, so now that we're done with that, we got our cheap Chinese AA's. You could also use a receiver pack. Now, receiver packs are going to be rated a little bit different. They're going to be the same milliamp hours. They still have a balance plug like this and all that good jazz. The difference is what's going to happen is you're going to have the lower C rating. So instead of having like a 20C or a 30C or a 60 or 70 or 100C, which is crazy amounts of speed for discharge, you might find that there's 6C or 5C or 10C. And that's because on a transmitter like this, handle's integral to it, makes it smaller. That's actually a good idea, even though I don't like it, because I tend to like that handle. This handle still works. That's kind of nice. This is a new design. I haven't seen the DXS. So I guess we'll see if it works well. Obviously the power switch is here. Ooh, nice. You see the LEDs there? Mm-hmm. That means your RF is active. I haven't peeled all this plastic off. I love taking that stuff off. And I hate when people leave it on there forever. So you gotta peel that stuff off. Do you want to do one, camera crew? You do one.
No, it's
do
okay.
this.
I'm filming.
Come on, do that one. You know you want to.
I know, you gotta start it though, because I only have one hand.
Oh, there you go. One hand's better than zero.
That's true.
So that being said, that's got a lanyard connection, which is nice. It feels heavy duty. Mm-hmm. The gimbals feel nice. They feel a lot nicer than actually on the DXE. So in reading the manual, I don't believe the DXE is compatible with this one. I'm not sure why, probably because there's a ton of features on this and there's extra switches. So they have them labeled H, F, D, and B, and then there's A is the bind button. So yes, that is a bind button. Now on the programmable radios, those letters mean that they're definable, so you can tell them what you want to act as. Okay. Now that we're done with that, this is going to get turned off. I believe to turn it off, you have to press and hold the button for a long time, which is good because you don't want to bump that thing and turn your plane off. That actually happened to me. Funny story, when I was a kid, my dad built a eaglet, which was made by, I think, SIG maybe. I'm not sure who made it. But anyway, you know, months spent epoxying and gluing. And these is long before the days of Kicker. You used CA and it still took like 2 minutes to set. And we thought that was glorious. Anyway, flying along, just beautiful as can be, his little, whatever CC engine it was, humming away, and then accidentally bumped the transmitter off. Gone. These things are so much more advanced in technology. So we're gonna go through the process of building this, and you will not have that same experience. You will not have months of build time. You will be flying this thing in an hour. Believe me, this video is gonna be way longer than it takes you to build this because I'm gonna blather about lots of details that you probably don't need to know, but you might be curious about. So if you have questions, leave them in the comments below. If you wanna buy it from the description below. So the manuals from Horizon are one of the best manuals that you're gonna get in the industry, and that's no BS, that's true, because we do all the Chinese junk too, and the Chinese junk comes with some horrible manuals. And we've done some of the good Chinese stuff, which like your Fairings of the world, and they do some good manuals. So the thing is, Horizon, one of the best manuals, and they still have a lot of mistakes. So that's why you watch guys like me, because I will not lead you astray, no matter how much I love Horizon, and I'm a Horizon fanboy. Okay, so anyway, this is the outlier. It just tells you kind of how to put stuff together. This tells you how to set up a computerized transmitter. For instance, if you had a DX18, which I do, then you could go through that process and you could set up your DX18 to fly this plane. Now this plane, I'm gonna fly it stock for you, and then later I'm probably gonna actually bind this one up to my DX18 because I love my DX18 and I love this plane, and I know it's gonna be awesome. But the thing that's really nice about this is my son can fly this while I fly the Apprentice, or vice versa, or you know, I'm flying the Viper jet, he can fly this. It's really fun to do that together. So that being said, if you open up the bottom, this thing pops off. It's like a filler. So it looks like it's fallen off, like it's broken. I believe that's where a sensor goes for ground sensing, but you'll notice that it's very easy to pop off, so just be aware of that. We've got the IC3 connection, which is a true smart connection, but it doesn't have the smart lead. So the first thing you don't want to do if you're a lawyer from Horizon is don't cut this off. If you're any other person on the face of the planet, go ahead and cut that off, because you're going to learn real quick. The first time you cut yourself, you won't even need that warning, because you'll remember. There's a bind plug down here. That's how you set these things up if you need to bind them to another transmitter. So you break this, or you get a different one like that and you want to bind them up. Binding is when your radios learn each other's address and then they know to talk to each other. Okay, they're still within the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum, but they have assignable addresses within DSMX or DSM2 previously, and DSMX and 2 are reverse compatible. So if you have a product that's DSMX, you can usually force it to DSM2. I don't know if that's true on this model, but it's irrelevant, especially if you buy it as a ready to fly. Ready to fly meaning RTF, ready to fly, versus BNF, bind and fly. Okay, we're going through a lot of stuff here, so I hope you're taking notes. That was a joke, guys. You don't have to take notes, but there will be a quiz. Again, just joking, guys. There won't be a quiz. Okay, what's next? So they talk about high and low rates. That means that on high rates, when you move the ailerons, this is mode 2, so ailerons here, so that makes the plane roll. Elevator, that makes the plane pitch forward and backward, backward, forward, roll left, roll right, yaw, yaw, and then throttle, okay? There is probably going to be a throttle cut set up on here. That means it'll prevent the throttle from starting. I'm gonna verify that before I say that for sure. The rates have to do with how much output is gonna happen when you move the stick. So like if I go 100% down, 100% up, then if I'm on low rates, it's only gonna move the control surface 70% of the way. That's what low rates mean, okay? So if you're doing a programmable radio, you can set those settings to whatever you want. Okay, this tells you how to assemble the landing gear. So at this point, we're gonna go ahead and do that. We've got the wheels right here, okay? Looks like the bag that had the floats is actually going to have the landing gear pieces. Yeah, that's right. Well, does it?
There's pieces in here.
No, those are the wheel pants.
Oh.
So yeah, there's 3 in here. So you just got to pick the correct ones.
Oh.
So it looks like on here, yeah, it's the one that goes. Yeah, so we got to open this up. No big deal. GPS applies when the optional GPS module is installed, okay? So important, the optional GPS module is installed. The aircraft will not respond to the transmitter commands after binding if it cannot acquire a GPS signal. Guys, did you catch that? Compass calibration, you have to do the compass calibration. That was what I was talking about earlier. Okay, how do you tell which ones work for the floats and which ones work for the landing gear? The ones with this little extra bend are the ones that are going to be for the landing gear, and that's because the wheel pants attached to that. Or fairing. I don't think those are technically pants go around the wheel or the tire. So I think it might be just a fairing. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you will, YouTube.
Well, and there's only one of that, and the other 2 are the same.
Yeah, so these are the wheel pants or fairings, whichever one they actually are. Then you've got a bunch of these little pieces to help you put everything else together. Got some screws and nuts in the nut sacks. Ooh, look, we've got some extra of these things. These are a little rubber hose. Okay. So we'll keep that in that bag. So this is very easy to put together. They just clip on there. I'm gonna pause that for a sec. Sorry, we had a fly flying around. It was driving me nuts. Okay, so this says left. This one says R for right, but it's like really blatantly obvious if you know anything about airplanes, which I'm assuming if you guys are buying this plane, you're probably somewhat into planes. If you don't know, just follow along in our video series and we will help you along. We have tons of videos. We help with tutorials like this. They are longer than many, but we go into a lot more detail than other people show. So you do have to open up the battery hatch in order to stick this in. There's a spot where this slides down in, okay? And it kind of snaps in. Very good design, actually. I like that. That's an improvement from the original, I believe. And silver looks so gorgeous. I wish that was silver.
Yeah, the color scheme on this is cool.
I love the silver and gold. The Hangar 9 version, which is big, like the Carbon Z Cup, is actually a little bit bigger by a few inches. It's got a similar setup. So we've got different style screws. It looks like we're in the B hole, or the B bag is what we're supposed to be. What? B, G, I don't know. Sometimes these bags aren't labeled right, and that's what I'm fearing that we're going to be dealing with here.
Also known as usually.
They're usually wrong. I don't understand. Of all the things they get right, why is that one of the things they don't get right? Okay, this says L. Is that the left side? Or does this go down? No. Is this the left side? No. That, I can't tell if that's right. Can you?
This would be the left side, right? Over
Yeah,
here.
you would think, but then, sorry guys, this shouldn't be that hard.
Like that?
That doesn't look right.
It doesn't.
Maybe those go, yeah, these ones are definitely for back here. Okay, so those go back there. And you know, on something like this, I would normally just like throw that in there, but I want to save the weight. So I'm going to take and keep those in a separate bag so we can put those away for when we do want to go ahead and incorporate floats on here. So of course floats are going to give you the capability of, oh, there we go. You just got to flip it upside down. I had it the wrong way. So the letter gets obstructed when this is installed. Do you see how that's nice and smooth now, camera crew?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So now I need to, it's like a million of these rubbers, guys. I mean, geez. Like,
Oh, better safe than sorry.
yeah, I mean, if you put 5 on, you're going to be nice and safe. I do need 2 because we're going to install these controls. Oh, wait, those are for the flaps. So if you do the optional flaps, this little assembly takes 1 servo and allows you to control 2 linkages, which are here. That's pretty cool. And it looks like the way this works, if you're going to install the flaps, you basically have a molded hole for a 9-gram servo that goes in right there. You see where that goes, guys? And then basically your servo is going to be adapted to these 2 little adapters, and they just grab on and straddle that adapter, just like so. And then when you actuate the flaps, it moves them. Now you do also have to cut just this little chunk out here, and then I think you got to cut right there. So it'll be easy. I'll do a mod video for that. Given that that's a standard feature that's built into this plane, I will be flying it with flaps, but not for this initial maiden flight. Okay, so those pieces will just all go into a bag, and we'll pull those out when we're ready to install the flaps. And then obviously we'll get an appropriate, probably a nice metal gear servo, I'm guessing. And they tell you the servo size is based on the weight. Typically that's the way they're designated. Okay, so we have the landing gear look to be, the wheels are the same. These things are all like sparkly. That's weird. Why is that, you suppose?
They are.
Hope it didn't come from a glitter plant. Okay, so then look, these are gonna go in there. It looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I don't know if they gave us an extra or if there's another spot where we're gonna be using one. Horizon is actually pretty good about giving you extras on stuff like this. And then there's set screws here. See how there's a little set screw? And then inside that same bag, they have these long screws. These are clearly not gonna be the correct one. So this one's gonna go right here. And then that's gonna spin on there. And we're gonna get ourselves a Phillips number 1 or 2 screwdriver. And there's a flat spot milled out to receive the screw on the outside. But then on the inside, there's a second one. And that keeps it from bumping. And then creating a bunch of drag and making the wheels not spin free. You do need your wheels to spin free, Believe me, because if they don't spin free, the plane is going to want to nose over immediately when you give it throttle. So my recommendation is abso-positively go ahead and use the inner thingy-majigger doohickey.
That's the technical term.
Yes,
Write that down.
that's
It'll be
right.
on the quiz.
I think they're actually called wheel collars, but that's okay. I prefer, oh, this one looks like it's a, oh, you know what? I stand corrected, folks. There's actually 2 wheel collars. They don't receive a screw, and then the ones like this, see, they do receive a screw. So I apologize, folks. The one with the screw goes on the outside only, and it does look like they gave us some extras. It must be for the floats, I wonder. Some of these things you kind of stumble into as you're working.
So that one just like hangs out over there.
It's thinner too. And you can see the difference here, folks. See how this one's thin and that one's thick?
Wait, hold on so they can see that.
Yeah, see how one's thicker? Yep. So the thinner one is the inside and the thicker one is the outside. They do show that in the detail here, but whatever. Who wants to look at a detail and actually know what they're doing? Most people. Probably. Okay, so this, you're gonna have to get a different angle if you wanna see what's going on. So I'm just tightening the set screw that we just discussed. Now that's going to bite onto the flat of the, I just knocked down, unfortunately, that piece of plastic. Remember the left and right, how we were having fun? Now it's in there for good. What? How did that happen? It got stuck way down in there. That's crazy. Or did it come out?
Should we find it for a second?
Well, yeah. Oh, it's right there. It came out. I just did notice.
How did it?
Yeah. So we got to get those screwed in. So the left and the right. You wouldn't absolutely have to do this. That's just going to give you a little added security because your lid is going to close down on top of the landing gear. They're not going to come out. So I think these are the screws we're supposed to use. But as usual, this is something annoying I want to show you guys. You see this? This is supposed to be a 2.5 millimeter by 10 millimeter screw, okay? So the drawing doesn't quite match up with the ones that were in that same bag from A. So they are called H, but of course they weren't labeled for us. So I'm not sure if maybe these ones are the ones that we're going for. I think that's what we're looking for because they seem to match the closest. Used to be that Horizon and all the manufacturers did a better job at hardware, but I think what's going on is that all the Chinese manufacturers that make the screws, they change designs on us. And so they come out here, see, there's 4 of these, so you just know you need 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then of course there'll be some more over here. So I've got those laid out, so let's go ahead and throw those in real quick. And I would encourage you to take your time and do this without using a drill, just because drills will make you regret using drills. I'm serious, you can use a drill if you want, but I would not recommend it. Because when you use a drill, you are gonna get yourself in a position where you're cracking this stuff, or, you know, everybody uses impacts anymore, and they are awesome, by the way. I use impacts too. But when you start using an impact on plastic like this, you're gonna break it. Yeah. And do not use Loctite. No matter what you think, Loctite, the solvent that is suspending the stuff that dries, will eat the plastic and you will crack it. Even if you get away with it for a little bit, it will weaken it to the point where you can come up and push this with your finger and break it. So if you think I'm wrong, just go ahead and try it and send me a video when it breaks. Trust me, I learned from stupidity myself. All right, guys, so those are tight. So that looks really solid solution. These will eventually dig in, but they've done a nice job of cutting a little bit of a relief so that as you land, you'll be surprised how quick they'll start bending. That's just kind of part of it when you learn to fly. Hopefully, since I'm a little bit more experienced, I won't break it immediately, but you know, depends on how crazy I get with it.
Things happen.
That's why they send you 6 rubbers. You never know. Okay, so we're gonna set this one up too, just exactly the same way. The landing gear have been pretty easy going together. With these off-road Tundra tires, I thought maybe we were gonna have a harder time hitting this angle to get that screw tight, camera crew.
Oh.
But to be honest with you, it's actually pretty easy to hit the angle.
You gotta have a longer screwdriver.
Well, you know, you gotta work with what you got. So I'm gonna throw these screws into a bag. You notice that this is where our wing supports very likely go. So I'm gonna actually throw those back into a bag because that's where I got them from. My guess is they will not be labeled properly. See, there's letters. It says C, B, A, all this stuff. Like
Maybe.
Trouble is I don't really see anywhere where it outlines what they are. So whatever. The C bag, see? Bag, get it? Okay, so I'm gonna close that. Now we can flip the plane over. Also, I want to talk about this. I don't know this for a fact yet, but I believe this is a ground sensor. And so if you're not using the GPS module, you wouldn't then have to use this. So that's why they come with a plug right where the procreation devices would normally be. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna not forget the wing spar, except we gotta do the tail section first. So I will forget that later.
Okay.
All right, so they're suggesting you put this on first, and looks pretty straightforward. So you put that on, then you need to use the long screws. They look like they're sharp. If you want to show the people at home what we're talking about, it looks like there's 2 of those. So it looks like these are the 2 that would be the longest, but then obviously they're not in the C bag. Horizon, not sure what's going on there. A, B, C.
There's 2. How about those 2?
It could be those, but those aren't sharp. They certainly don't match the diagram. So I think these are the biggest ones. So I'm gonna kind of lean toward putting these big ones in.
Okay.
Okay, so obviously the bottom is where the linkage is. Okay. So, oh, you know what? Obviously we have to put the tail on the vertical stabilizer and rudder, the horizontal stabilizer and elevator. Okay. So this goes through here like this. And then what's received through the plastic is of course going to be, you have to kind of give it a turn so you can get all the assembly through. And then this is where you could test your theory, camera crew. See, if this is the machine screw that's supposed to be going in there, yeah, it does not feel like that's probably correct because it's not biting. This is the big one. And that will bite. So yeah, I think that's what it is.
Okay.
So ours was in the B bag. So I don't know why that is. It is what it is. There's a nice key on the vertical stabilizer / rudder assembly. And so I'm just gonna try to slip that together. And that key helps you to get everything aligned nicely. With the motor being heavy up front, it makes this thing stand up nicely for easy work. There's plastic here to receive the pressure from the head of the screw. So as you tighten this all together, it's gonna suck the assembly together, and then you'll be depressing the foam together, but you're actually pushing plastic against plastic. That screwdriver is not working well for that screw. I think I might need to go to a number 2 screwdriver for this. What's that number screwdriver there, camera crew?
The one you're using right now,
I think it's a number 1. Oh, it's a 0?
It's a 0.
Okay. So this would be like a number 2 screwdriver, a P2.
That shaft is going to be too big.
No, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Do I already have it started?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to have to get full penetration with my shaft.
Oh.
I just have to get superficial penetration.
I know, but it looks really tight.
It's, I mean, you know, it's going to go. It's fine. Are you concerned about me ripping it a new one?
Super concerned.
No, it's like legitimately. I mean, if it scrapes a little bit of the paint, I'm good with it.
I know, Mom. Stretch out the hole.
Well, I mean, at least I'm the one that gets to do it. So this number 2 screwdriver might, as my camera crew suggested, be a little bit big. So I'm just going to grab a different style. And this different style is going to have a little bit thinner shaft. I think I've got a 1 and a 2 on this size.
Yeah.
So this one's going to be, yeah, CRV, whatever that means.
A little less aggressive.
Oh yeah, it's not ripping it a new one now. See, it just fits nicely.
Not hole is much
See,
happier.
if it's too big, it's a problem.
It is.
Yeah.
Really.
there's limits to everything.
Too small is not good either, but
True. From what I've been told.
I wouldn't know.
So here we go. So we're tightening this in. Then, all right, so the next step is, obviously we have to attach these linkages. This book is huge.
It is. It's in like 27 languages.
Well,
though.
not 27, it's like 5 or 4.
A bunch.
Okay, so they want us to put it in the outside hole, so I'm gonna put it on the inside hole.
Of course you are.
Now what that does for us is if you go on the outside hole, the maximum deflection will be slightly less. So I want it on the inside hole because I want to have more. I want to have more control authority. And you'll notice I just moved the servo accidentally. And that's not necessarily a good thing. It's hard on servos to drive them when they're not running like that, but it's just on accident, so it's not a big deal. You could do it many, many times before it breaks. Okay, so all you do is you just kind of open that up, wrap it through, and then bite it on there, and then slide your little rubber collar back most of the way. Give me a shot from the other side too. Okay, I didn't have to put those 2 ridiculous screws in there, it looks like. That's nice. So then this thing is the other. You want to go for my left shoulder. I think you'll get a better shot there. And then you just see what I'm doing. If you want, you can slide this all the way back like that and then pop it open. Now they're suggesting that that goes into, it didn't say there, but it'll say here. So there's, it's supposed to go to the outside hole. So I'll put that also on the inside hole. Now, one of the problems with going to the inside hole is that because there's more output, the flight controller may have a tendency to over control, so you'll get an oscillation. If that happens, then we'll have to compromise and go back to the other setting, or not fly with the safe fully engaged, okay? So you get to see it on its own wheels. Man, that looks gorgeous. It's kind of a big tail wheel, but that's good for flying off of grass. I like it. I like it a lot. It looks gorgeous already. Okay, so now the next thing we need to do is we need to put on the leading edge, or not the leading edge slats, but we need to put on the vortex generators. Now, vortex generators are, I mean, they're optional, but you would absolutely want to put them on. Vortex generators do exactly like it sounds. They generate vortices, and as think of vortices as like high pressure water. The water that's flowing over the wing is, loosely gathered, and then it just collects the air, and it makes these little vortices, okay? And then it makes the air move faster, and it keeps it from what we call separation. Separation is a stall, okay? Because then the plane falls. Because the differential in pressure from here to here is what makes lift. As you move forward, the wing wants to lift. The vortices create extra speed on the top relative to the bottom, which sucks the wing up. These are vortex generators. So the vortex generators, just to verify, I don't know for sure which way they want them to go. It looks like they want that detail's crappy, because it looks like the arrow, they have an arrow pointing forward. I think they want these to go forward. So but I could honestly see it either way. So you definitely want to use the provided tape on this so that they go flush.
Did you put it on there backwards?
No.
From what you said? Oh, okay.
Put it on there the correct direction.
Okay.
So the smooth goes down. But like I said, I mean, I could legitimately see that being either way. Now, you'll notice how this one ends up going the same direction. I want them to be mated up so that whichever one ends, you end with a pair, because these things work in tandem, okay?
Right.
So you want to try to get them to match up that way if possible. It may not be completely possible. See this one? See how it's ending on a single? And this one's ending on a single? That one's ending on a single.
They're all identical, so they'll have a single on the end.
Oh, dang it. That sucks. I don't think they're identical. I think they're cut. See, look, you're going to have oh, that sucks. Look, yeah. See if we did it that way. I guess I'd rather have them the same and have them maybe not ideal. At least then they're exactly the same.
Right.
Okay, whatever. So that's unfortunate. I think I'm just going to try it the other way. So then you end up with two that are right next to each other that are screwed up. Or, nope. This is just a quick, ooh, look. Nope. Still, same problem. So what we're going to do is we are going to, it doesn't say, believe me. We are going to take off the double-sided tape. And we're going to take off, we're going to leave one side attached. And then we're going to see how this lines up. Yeah, it's a little bit shorter. Okay, so that's good. So that'll make it easy to apply. So if you just started at one side and work your way over, see, I got a little bit of overlap there. And this stuff is going to be really sticky. Oh my goodness. That's great though.
Yeah.
So now we just need to take and apply that. Horizon, if you're listening, which I'm guessing you're not, just apply this stuff for us. Maybe they're concerned about it drying out or something. Like if it sits on the shelf for a long time. I don't know.
They use tape on other stuff though?
Yeah, they do. Okay, so yeah, I don't like having to do this. This step is annoying. That's okay. This is an awesome plane though. Okay, so we're gonna do the rest of this exactly the same way. Just verify that you're not gonna overshoot the end. Stick it down. And then make sure that you're somewhat centered. See, once you get it stuck down, it's hard to peel the stuff off. And you may actually rip it in half, so you want to be careful. See how hard that was to get off of there? Oh, son of a gun, I did it again. So I'm just going to pull this tight. Just kind of guide it along, and then drop it down. Drop it like it's hot.
How old are you?
Old enough to not play with toys. Wait, a little bit off for that one. Oh, and speaking of toys, guys, if you're in the United States of America, your wonderful federal government thinks that you're not capable of making good decisions, so you need to register this product with the FAA, meaning you personally need to be registered as a pilot, and then this plane in turn is your plane, so you put your number on the outside of the aircraft. KnowBeforeYouFly.com. Okay, just look it up. The laws change all the time because once the government gets involved, they try to ruin everything. Did I say that out loud? Mm-hmm. Okay.
You weren't wrong.
Yeah, because the FAA has no place in this hobby. And if you disagree, go for it. Go ahead and disagree.
It is a toy.
It's ridiculous. This is a toy. Kids play with these things and adults alike, even though it's for 14 years plus in case the lawyer's watching. 14 years plus.
How old do you have to be to register? What if you're a kid?
I think 16 actually.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. So if you're an adult and you have a kid that wants to fly, just do your best. Trust me. Innovation gets killed by stupid decisions like this. But that's fine. It's not really like that hard to work around. You just have to follow a bunch of stupid rules that are unenforceable. No big deal. Okay, squish this down. Oh no. Do you see what I did? Guys, learn from my mistake. First of all, learn from my mistake. Make sure that this 3M tape or whatever it is they provided doesn't catch the lip because it is extremely sticky. Okay. And then secondly, you can see that what happened there. So now I need to try to possibly lift it and push it down. Oh, that sucks. Sorry guys, I'm embarrassed that I did that. I only caught a little teeny bit of it. Okay, but you can see the way that that worked. There's that vortex generator has that leading edges swept up like that. The only reason I assume it's that way is because I've seen enough planes that really have real vortex generators. And that looks gorgeous that way too. I'm a little bit bummed that we didn't end up with a V on the ends. That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be honest with you, it's still a pretty cool detail. On the mall, not the Molly. Yeah, why would you have unnecessary letters?
Because it's their name.
It's because it's their name. Mall.
That's the manufacturer, like that's their family name.
Mall. E
Yeah.
without an E.
Molly.
Yeah,
Mall.
mall.
With an E.
Like a bear mall.
Yeah.
Mall. U. Okay. That makes sense.
With an E.
With an E. Extra E. Unnecessary. Unnecessary vowels.
I bet it's French.
Oh, is that what it is?
Probably.
Well, that
They have
makes
extra
sense.
vowels.
Okay. But anyway, the mall has integral vortex generators. And on the Carbon Z Cub, which is the bigger version of this, the vortex generators are stuck on peel and stick style. And that was one of the only issues I had with that model, was that I had to do this. And they came with a thin piece, but there wasn't such a big relief molded into the wing. So when you put it together, it was pretty cool.
That one's good.
Look at that. See that, guys? Beautiful. So now as you fly, it's going to generate lift and look awesome. Then we can ram this rod right through the middle. This is called the wing joiner or the wing spar. So we're just going to stick that through until it hits. We're going to grab this. They stuff the servo leads in there. And they do say aileron right and aileron left on the servo plugs. Okay. If you guys are used to old school red, white, and black connectors, that'd be like a Futaba color code. This would be like a Hextronics color code, which is brown, red, and orange. Orange is signal, red is positive voltage, DC, and black is negative voltage, DC, and or ground.
Isn't that brown, orange, and yellow?
It's brown, orange, and slightly less orange. That's what I like to say. Depends on the brand
Yeah, I know.
that actually makes it, but it's a Hextronics color code. Okay, beautiful, beautiful fit.
Cool.
Love the wing, nice straight wing. Then Horizon cheated in just a little teeny tiny bit of dihedral. I'm watching you, Horizon. Because this is supposed to be a straight wing, but that's okay. The dihedral is good for beginner pilots. And to be honest, on a plane like this, a little bit of dihedral is not going to be a big deal because it's not going to be like an extremely high performance plane where you're trying to fly, upside down for the entire flight. But you can actually fly upside down with this plane just fine. That being said, I have to mount these. The next step is to actually plug these wires in. So it says aileron or AILR. So that's the right one. See, the receiver plug is actually got a little jumper, a little extension cord to make it easy. If you were going to use that GPS module, the module would set into this pre-molded slot. Then this is a remote receiver, also known as a satellite, I believe, but I'm not 100% sure of how that works. This is an A3238 flight controller. Okay, so the flight controller itself is doing monitoring the positional, the attitude, the pitch, and roll and yaw of the aircraft at all times, and actively helping to guide the plane in a straight line. And it also helps with the leveling. That's part of the safe sensor-aided flight envelope. So when you plug these in, there's a brown, a red, and an orange, like we just talked about. So you'll want to be mindful of that as you plug them in, because even though they are keyed, you can force them in without having them right. So you need to be a little bit careful about that. So aileron left, aileron right. Under normal circumstances, it doesn't matter which one goes to which because ailerons operate opposite from one another. But sometimes when a plane is designed, the ailerons are actually going to use different servos. One might be a reverse servo and one might be a regular servo. Reverse servos can be made out of most typical servos by disassembling the servo, disconnecting 2 of the 3 leads on the position trim pot, and then switching the motor leads positive and negative.
It's just as easy as it sounds.
It's a huge pain in the butt.
Yep.
Man,
Need
that's...
a hand.
Yeah, I do,
Can I
if you're offering.
At least hold the wing.
Yeah, hold that.
Okay.
I'm just having trouble securing. Yeah, there we go. See how I had to really push hard, but you want those things to seat down all the way. And then verify your brown goes to brown, brown goes to brown. Okay.
Good.
So now we can, now don't worry, you don't need to get in there to get to the bind plug or anything like that because they have one draped down below. And you don't need to worry about these linkages yet because that'll be later for flaps. And like I said, I'm gonna fly this stock for now. All right, so we got that dropped down. It's a little bit awkward to get that wing on because those linkages that go to the...
Those flap linkages
Yeah,
are in a weird
kinda,
spot.
Kind of in a weird spot, yeah. Okay, so it looks like the next step is to use some screws to hold on the bottom pieces. But, oh, there's actually screws from the top too. So in looking at the screws, we have one bigger screw like what we used on the tail. We have 3 smaller screws. See, there's smaller ones. Then there's 2 real small ones. Then there's 4 of these machine screws. So I have to assume that we're going to be using the machine screws on this. Now, why would you use a machine screw on this particular connection point? The reason you would use a machine screw here is because you want people to be able to take this apart again and again. Taking a wing off is not an atypical thing for people that need to transport planes. So that's why I believe that to be true, plus I have enough of them. This one's a little bit full for the hole. I need the smaller screwdriver again.
Are some of those screws left for the floats?
It's totally possible.
I feel like there's a lot of screws left.
I'm not lined up right with the holes yet either too. There we go. I feel like I'm, oh yeah, it's biting.
Okay, that's it. Sounds
So
better.
it's important for you guys to pick up on this if you're used to doing maybe old balsam models or kits. When you tighten foam together, you will eventually compress the foam, and that's okay. It's gonna compress a little bit. Foam does get a little bit beat up over time. Just plan on it. But if you're getting back in the hobby, you're just learning to fly for the first time, trust me, your plane's gonna get beat up. I'm not suggesting that that's like to be dismissive of crushing, but when you tighten those screws, you're gonna eventually come to a point where it wants to squish a little bit. And that's okay, just squish it a little bit. But don't go so crazy with an impact that you break something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Gene?
It's not my name. Jeez, it's our anniversary.
Oh, what is it again? There it is. Okay, so I'm gonna plug this last screw in. There is an LED on the front of this thing, and I think it's actually, I don't even know what it is, but it's a weird spot for an LED.
I haven't seen it in the book yet.
I haven't seen it on the picture on the front of the plane there.
True.
So I don't know what it is. I'm kind of weirded out by it because I don't know what it is. Maybe they use the same exact artwork from the original one.
Maybe.
126C, it's the same N number on there.
Was the other one the exact same color scheme?
Yeah, the original. This is the HobbyZone Carbon Cub S2 1.3, meaning that it is equipped with the smart technology and it's equipped with, I believe, a different flight controller. So, okay, so obviously the wing is installed. As I was mentioning earlier, you wouldn't have to absolutely have those wing struts. Those are called wing struts. I didn't say that earlier. The wing struts look cool and they are somewhat functional when you do high loading, like on a loop. Okay, so this is the right and this is the left. So remember, the right is if you were sitting in the plane, the right.
Yeah.
You can also hold them up and you can tell that's not gonna work very good. So the right goes like this. Is that the right way?
It looks right to me.
But if it was on the left,
Would it be the same?
nope. It'd be real similar. See, it doesn't line up. The holes are in the wrong position. So these ones are not ambidextrous. They're not ambidextrous. I'm saying that wrong, but I can't say it right for some reason.
Are you trying-
Ambidextrous.
That was right.
That is right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If that was the word you meant.
Ambidextrous.
Yeah.
So there's, okay, so these ones are supposed to use 2, 3 screws. And I've got 2 small screws, and I've got 3 big screws, and then I've got 1 off-size big screw, and then I've got a bunch of these ones. These ones are probably the ones that are supposed to go because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left. So assembly by process of elimination, we've gotten good at this.
Except you need 6.
Oh shoot, you do. Okay, that's a little bit demoralizing. I'm sure I've got enough screws to put this thing together.
Right.
I'm just not 100% certain that I'm going to end up using the correct ones. This is why you watch build videos.
They're supposed to be those little guys.
What guys?
6 of all the same. But I don't know.
Flip that back. Okay, so I'm using these. So I don't know. Maybe I used the wrong one on something else. Or maybe they shorted me. I really doubt they shorted me.
Yeah, that doesn't usually happen.
So the letter is going downward, meaning the letter is pointing at the ground when the plane is on its landing gear, okay? So you can see those things reach out to where they need to be, okay? So now I'm thinking I've got 2 short screws, I've got this screw, and I've got 4 of these kind of machine style screws. I want to try the machine style screws in a vain attempt to get it right on the first try.
Okay.
I believe this machine style screw is the correct one, and it sure feels right. Oh yeah, that's definitely correct. Well, is it definitely correct? Sure feels tight. Oh yeah, that's definitely correct, guys. So I think the instructions, this is probably one of those times where Horizon meant to put an addendum in and they just didn't. And by the way, folks, just so you know, if you think this manual's bad, it's not. It's not. It's so much better than some. When you get into this hobby, you are going to learn really quick. There are some horrible manuals. And that's part of the reason why you will be depending on guys like me and guys in your local flying club. See what just happened? See how that popped through? Just so you can figure out what's going on when you get into this hobby again after being off of the hobby for... Okay, so when you're just getting back into this, sorry, we had our camera ran out of memory or did something weird for us, so we're just picking right back up. I noticed that the screws that I was using, these machine style screws like this, didn't really cut it because the head was too small. So I'm going to this one that's more of like a wood screw, if you will, or plastic screw in this case. And so that is big enough to hang on to it, okay? So it won't slide through. And that's the same ones that we were using up here, okay? So what I was doing is I took the ones from up here and I'm gonna put them down here because obviously the hole is bigger. And since it's a longer hole, it's gonna be allowed to deflect around the head of the screw easier. So what I'm gonna do is I'll use the ones that were machine screws up at the top if they go. And they should then in turn hold, but we'll find out in about 30 seconds here if that's true. Yeah, they're going just fine. These ones look like they'll hold because it's biting it and it's not wanting to pop through. Does that make sense, camera crew?
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that. I mean, it's not what I originally planned, but who cares? To be honest with you, some of the stuff in the hobby world, and I mentioned this earlier, it's kind of like, are you serious? Like, some of these things are not very cheap, okay? And you know, a reasonable expectation is that you have like all the right screws and it's really easy. But to be honest with you, this is one of the upper echelon of manufacturers in the Horizon. Horizon hobby is one of the best. And we work with several other manufacturers and they do some good stuff. But Horizon hobby in the consumer level is gonna be really good. Of course, you can get into the $25,000, $30,000, $50,000 radio controlled airplanes where you've got turbine jets and you know, you're spending $8 grand or 10 grand on a turbine that's an actual legit jet engine. You're not gonna typically see that from the Horizon lineup, but they do sell some really high performance stuff if you're into that sort of thing.
That would be insane.
Yeah, it would be. I'd be like scared to fly it because it'd be so much
kidding.
money up there. But it'd still be really cool too. So now I am left with one. Okay, that's fine. These things, like I said, these things aren't going to be really doing that much. Oh, that thing looks gorgeous, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's cool. I like it.
I don't know what the heck is going on with this.
I don't either.
Or what's going on with this.
It's an ejection seat.
I don't think so.
I don't either.
I don't think it's an ejection seat. I'm pretty sure that's where you can put in that other device.
Gotta be it.
So I think it's got to be a ground sensor. It's got to be a ground sensor. I'm just surprised it doesn't say it expressly in this quick start. So here's the quick start manual. This talks about the virtual fence. I call it geofencing. See what happens? You have to be careful where you start this plane if you're using the GPS too, because it knows the home position where it energizes and where you do your GPS compass calibration, okay? So that's gonna dictate what direction it lands, into the wind or not. And once that changes, like if the wind changes when you're flying, then you might be in some trouble. By the way, this plane, don't learn to fly in the wind. You can fly in wind, but I wouldn't recommend it. Bunch of different languages. So it looks like we only have this part here, okay? Because all the rest is in a different language. So it looks like this is all they have. So why don't you just do like a big shot for the people? They can just look at that on the screen. If they need to pause it so they don't have to go refer to the manual. By the way, if you haven't already figured this out, if you follow my links, it takes you to the Horizon website. Yes, you can use the coupon codes if they exist. And yes, you can buy them, but you can also go to the literature about a particular plane. They just upgraded their website the other day, so I'm still kind of learning how to navigate it. But man, that is a gorgeous plane. Oh, that is so gorgeous. So the next video is gonna be radio setup, except I don't think we're gonna do a separate video for this one. Just given the fact that it's a ready to fly, we already have a radio set up, hypothetically. So we're gonna turn this on. I'm gonna turn this back off. I want you to see what it looks like when you first turn it on. See how it's red, then it goes to the orange, and then it's got the two little lights of green. I'm not sure what that stands for, but we're gonna find out. So now, in order to energize this plane, you have to put a battery in it. You always start with the transmitter. Make sure your left stick is all the way down so that you don't have any throttle. And for safety, put the H switch up. If you're concerned, take off the prop. I am not. I'm also holding my hand in such a way that the prop won't hit me, even if something goes wrong. Something won't go wrong though. So I'm actually gonna lay this down in this configuration. So if the prop were to start spinning, I can protect my furniture and myself. And the camera crew.
Thanks.
Well, I mean,
I can protect myself.
You're capable of protecting yourself from my malfeasance. Okay, so we're gonna plug this in. And then we're gonna work relatively quickly to close the lid. That is not secured properly, just so you know. But I'm gonna work on securing that a little bit later. Obviously the prop didn't start, so we're in good shape there. If this was GPS ready, you would need to do some settings. You'll notice that it just jumped and there's a big green light. Look at this. It's going through its setup here. Okay, there's like a green light on the front. That's interesting. Elevator goes up, elevator goes down, elevator up, elevator down, elevator down, elevator down. Ailerons. So when I give it aileron input, it also moves the rudder and it moves the elevator, okay? So we must be in a beginner mode right now because it's doing all the things. When I give it rudder, it moves the rudder. Why don't you come behind so we can see what's actually going on here, camera crew? So elevator up and down. You'll notice this green, that must be the signal. Or no, that's power for the transmitter. Or maybe that's power for there, I don't know. We'll have to read a manual about this, I guess. Ailerons, this is the rudder. And throttle is on that stick, so don't mess with it yet. Elevator down, elevator up. Ailerons roll left, ailerons roll right. You'll notice it's coordinating the turns. So when I go this way, it's also putting a little bit of rudder in. That's called a coordinated turn. So when you roll the plane, there's a little bit of rudder that kicks the nose over, okay? So in a real plane, when you turn, You roll the plane and you use the elevator. And then you use the rudder to change your heading a little bit if you want. But most people, you just roll the plane and you use the elevator. And then you coordinate with a rudder if you want, but most people don't have to do that in a full scale because the plane wants to kind of fall down anyway. All right, so everything is working. I believe safe must be on right now, but it's not active fully because we haven't given it any throttle. So I'm gonna just test this real quick. Just getting in a safe spot. Move the throttle stick up, you'll notice nothing has happened. That's good. Now I'm gonna test it again just in case it armed it by going all the way up. It has not, that's good. That means this is throttle cut. So throttle cut is off. There's your throttle. Pretty good amount of power there, that's surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Throttle cut is back on and tested. Throttle cut means when it's towards your belly, when you're holding transmitter, when it goes towards your belly or your chest, it's on and you're safe, hypothetically. Not to be confused with safe, sensor rated flight envelope. So now we need to figure out what switches do what real quick, because I didn't look at the manual and I probably should. So I'm all the way back at 0 on switch B. This is A, that's actually a bind button. So that's gonna be your panic button. We should have AS3X and safe active. Yep, and it's safe is on. This is how you can tell. When the plane has safe on, it's going to attempt to find level as fast as possible. So I put it upside down and I go past the center. Finding the fastest path will alternate the ailerons. So now that means the computer's saying roll and then it's level, so it stops. And opposite there, so it's saying no, level out, no, level out. Now watch the rudder. The rudder's not gonna make a very big impact, but you can see it moving there. So as I tip the plane, it's trying to bring it level. They all work together. Now watch the elevator. The elevator is attempting to bring the plane level. Once it's level, it goes back to neutral. When it's upside down, it's gonna work with the ailerons predominantly to right the aircraft. What you don't know when you aren't an RC pilot, is that when you let go of the sticks, the plane goes whatever direction it's going, plus the impact of the wind, plus the other stuff that's impacting it. With safe, you have two functions going on. You have AS3X, which is artificial three-axis stabilization, and that's going to change wind that's pushing you down or yawing the plane or lifting you up. It's going to say, you didn't move the stick. It's going to counter it. So when the wind pushes this wing down, it's going to counter it with ailerons and ailerons, okay? When this tail gets pushed, you're not going to be able to see it, unfortunately, because it's too small of a movement. It's going to attempt to move the rudder that way to counter the impact of wind. And you're like, Brian, but how does it know the difference between wind and you moving the stick? When I move stick, it knows that I'm moving the stick, so it allows the plane to make that maneuver. Okay, now that's the full beginner mode. It also has limited bank angles. The limited bank angles are going to allow you to go so far. This is how we can demonstrate this. See how the aileron came up? Can you see that? Mm-hmm. See how the aileron's up? I've got the stick moved all the way to the left. It's going to stop. See how it stops? And then it's going to try to correct it. That's as far as you can go. So when you let go, it brings you level. And it's also going to stop you from going any more than that. It's just going to stop moving the plane further. And if you go further, it's going to bring it back. Okay? That's called a limited bank angle. Same is true for the elevator. So elevator all the way back, see it stops. That's as high as you can pitch the plane. And then as low as you can pitch the plane, and it's going to try to let you bring it about there to about there. And then on here, it's going to bring you about to there or about to there. And it's not going to let you go any further. So the other thing that it's going to do is when you give it throttle, so let's show them this. So throttle cut is off. Watch what happens to the elevator. Hold on. See how it moves the elevator? See that? So what's happening is as you give more throttle, the plane is going to tend to pitch up a little bit, because what happens is when a plane is going straight and narrow and you give it throttle, the propeller spins a certain way, and that makes the plane want to kind of go that way too. And you'll notice that on many planes, they're pointed downward, and you can tell by this angle, it's pointed down and to the left, okay? And that's gonna actually, well, this one's pretty well centered. It's not got much angle at all, mostly because it's not a very aggressive pitch. So when that thing spins, it's gonna wanna do this. And so that elevator going up like this is gonna help to keep you from running the nose into the ground. It's called a nose over. So you spin up the prop, it lifts up the tail, and then there's an elevator that helps to get you off the ground. So all these things are very elementary principles to flying radio controlled airplanes, and you don't have to know how to do it. You'll notice when you watch this video, this is all coming toward the end of the video series. We start with the flights to get people interested, and then they can watch how it all goes together. So now the other thing is, I think this light is probably gonna tell me when I have lost signal, maybe. Okay, so all the controls are working. Guys, don't try this at home. I shut off the transmitter.
Still, yep. It's flashing.
Yep, so that's gonna give you feedback. Like, you just shut your transmitter off, dummy. So now look, it's gonna find level, and then the rudder, all the different axes of control, including up to and including the GPS, which we didn't install, are gonna help to bring this plane back, which is crazy. You're like, oh, what did I do? I'm gonna lose my new baby, oh my goodness. Oh, nope, it's working again. See how quick that goes? That's pretty quick. Believe me, if that was in real time, your plane would have already been in a tree. You gotta be Johnny on the spot when you're flying. Full focus, full energy to flying. Okay, now let's go out of basic mode. Okay, now you'll notice that the light changes color to blue. That's pretty cool. And then there's red, like, oh, I'm crazy. Nothing, no flight aids, nothing. It's just AS3X. So in this mode, the only thing that's being done is stabilization, which is AS3X. Safe uses AS3X to help keep you level and auto level. See how the aileron goes up? Here, see if you can come to this angle at the end of the wing. Now watch this. You see that aileron over there? Watch what happens when I lift the wing. See how it goes up a little bit? And when I lower it, you see this gap? It goes away. See that? It's trying to... See if you can shine it right down. Okay. See how it goes up? See how it goes down? See how it goes up? Goes down? I don't know if you guys can tell.
So hard to film that.
How about the rudder? Look at the rudder. Stay there. We're going to do this. See the rudder? You got to be fast.
I know.
You see how it's moving?
A little bit.
Are you just giving me lip service here?
Kind of.
It's moving, okay? So what's happening is the plane is still trying to correct for environmental impact, but watch this. It's not gonna auto level. And when you give it control input, like roll left, look at the ailerons. First of all, it's moving more than it was in basic mode, but it's not gonna stop rolling the plane. It's just gonna keep rolling. That's just one axis of control. There's also, so that's the roll axis, then there's the yaw axis with the rudder, and then there's the pitch axis with the elevator. So all three axes give you full control. That means you can fly this thing, do whatever you want with it. By the way, the throttle cut still works no matter what mode you're in. So intermediate mode is kind of the middle mode where you're gonna be allowed to do most everything that you can do on expert mode, but it's gonna also give you some limits on the bank angles. And I'm gonna demonstrate this in flight. It's also gonna limit the amount of throw that you get. See the difference between, big difference, guys. Okay, so that's basic, intermediate. See, that's your limited bank angle there. Now in basic, you're gonna have the same limited bank angle because you see the aileron doesn't change, and look at my thumb. It's moved all the way to the left, okay? But then in experienced, you can keep rolling it until your heart's content. Okay, so with all those things being said, we also have a switch D, I'm not sure what it does, and we have a switch F. I think that must be for rates. So let's see if the manual discusses that before we wrap this up. Okay, so we're gonna put it in beginner mode, excuse me. We're gonna situate our body in such a way that we can control the aircraft in case something goes wrong. These decals would typically be located. They gave us, looks like 3 sets. That's kind of weird. I wonder why they did that. Because normally these would go up onto the top of the cowling, but they gave us 3 sets. I wonder why that is.
I wonder if they're just stuck together.
No, but there's 3 sets though. I like these a lot, so I'm gonna put this. They go up on the top of the cowling.
Oh, I see it now.
I'm just trying to remember which way they go though. I think they go like that. Yeah, they go like this, I'm pretty sure. Did they show in the drawing? No, they don't really show. So now let's see if they talk about the setup of, I mean, this tells you the basic flight controls, how things work. But what you're going to want to do is, if you're still trying to figure this stuff out, just watch. There's Velcro in there. You can tighten the Velcro. And then they also give you Velcro that you can stick onto your pack. The center of gravity is the other thing we got to talk about. But let's see if we can find this. This is the compass calibration procedure. They also have a range test, which is important if you're concerned about range. I'm not. This is your safe outline. It's going to talk about the limited bank and pitch and roll angles, okay? It talks about what position you're going to be in the switch. Fly into the wind for takeoff, land into the wind for takeoff, yes. You can hold this up, give it throttle, and hand launch it to fly. If you have installed optional flaps, the flaps would be deployed for takeoff because it makes the plane stall at a slower speed, which means it's going to take off at a lower speed too. Flaps help protect landing gear because they take less wear and tear. You can also slow the plane down significantly, which is really cool because this plane is already going to fly slow if you want it to. There's a low voltage cutoff. It's called LVC. And what's going to happen is, as the engine is running or the motor's running, it's going to be like, that's what it's going to sound like. Except a little bit more extreme, okay? You're also going to lose power. So you need to, when you hit that, the best thing you can do is, if you can, chop your throttle to nothing and get into a glide slope so you can land, okay? Secondly, preserve your power so you have it when you're ready to land, because you may need a little bit of power to, you know, make it to the runway or whatever, okay? All right, where's the rest? This is the flap installation setup, okay?
5 minutes of memory.
Okay. So it talks about the 2 different settings, and it talks about where to plug it in. Where does it say? So that's going to be for switch D. Auxiliary 2, okay, cool. And it looks like optional flaps are going to go on channel 8 from the flight controller. Okay. And then, of course, flying on floats is a whole nother ball of wax. Okay, so this is the optional landing assistant sensor upgrade. The Carbon Cub S2 is upgraded with an addition of an optional landing assist sensor module. This allows the advanced safe features to be combined with landing assist sensor for smoother, gentler landings, for best results when using LAS, land on grass surfaces, or a light colored surface, okay? That's because sensors like this typically get a little bit blinded by black because black absorbs too much light, okay? I don't know, it's gonna do all sorts of cool stuff, but I don't know if I'm into it. Front, GPS has a location. It does matter. Compass error. There's a light on the front of the plane, which is really helpful for new people, but it's ugly as sin. So I may cover that up with something so that I can just see it glow when it's glowing. Other than that, this thing has so much technology built in, it's gonna confuse the crap out of most people. So virtual fence on, virtual fence off. If you should choose to use the GPS, you will have virtual fence. Virtual fence will scare you to death the first time you use it, because the first time you hit the edge, it will scare you. Okay, so we're gonna pause while we look for radio buttons. Shows you where everything is, okay? So this is the flight battery voltage indicator. Awesome. So when your battery's low, you can use that. Okay, so this is elevator stick, elevator trim. So you got trim here. Remember, if you do trim electronically, later go back and mechanically trim. We'll talk about that later. This is your bind HPAL button. I'm not sure. Okay, so bind, and then panic button. Okay, so even in advanced mode, you press panic and it's gonna level you and it comes back out of it automatically. You can tell from the condition of the light. Okay, this is throttle cut, which I was talking about on switch H. High-low rates, so this is high-low. So we're in high rates up here and we're in low rates down here. That makes sense. That's everything, guys. The next thing you see on this video is gonna be the end. If you haven't bought this thing yet, please, if you're gonna buy it from the links below. It's gonna be an awesome plane. I can't wait to show you it flying, but you've already seen it fly. But in my reality, I haven't seen it fly, and I am excited to see it fly because I've already flown it before and it flies really good and you are gonna love it. And it is technology packed. You may not need some of it, but the thing is, I can tell you this right now, it is awesome. And it's got lights on the front, which is weird. Come back for more. Thanks for watching, guys. YouTube, we're here with the Carbon Cub, formerly S Plus GPS. This is the S2. So it's the newly released one. It's got the option for the landing assist sensor on the bottom. And then of course the GPS is now optional, which is the way it should have been in the first place. They have a new transmitter for this thing that's a DXS as opposed to the DXE, which is pretty cool in the ready to fly configuration. Yes, it's ready to support flaps on channel 8. It's designed to receive flaps. You just have to install one 9-gram servo, and we will be doing a mod series for that. As of yet, we have not installed them, which means they're still in like this. You won't need flaps on this plane, but you may want flaps for extra fun. This plane will also fly with floats, and you'll notice there's this goofy light on the front that helps you to know what condition you're in. There's experienced, intermediate, and full safe, which is pretty awesome. There's also a status light on the DXS that tells the transmitter pack, or excuse me, not the transmitter pack, but the receiver pack, so what's in your airplane. So as this diminishes, you'll see it there, which is awesome. There is a throttle cut built in, which is really nice for safety. There's also the switch for flaps and the switch for the mode and high and low rates. High is up, low is down. There's some other things you can do with this transmitter. I'm not gonna go into them because I am not equipped with GPS, nor do I believe in it. I do not like geofencing. I think it's way too complicated for beginners. That's my opinion. It is a good technology and it does work. It will scare the crap out of you the first time you hit the fence. That's all I'm gonna say about it. We're gonna fly.
That light will flash red if it's disconnected from the radio.
Let's show them that real quick too. We go over some of this. You have to press and hold the button to turn it off, and then it goes to red and it goes into whatever mode, okay? So just be aware of that, okay? Now it's in failsafe. Watch how fast it connects. That's really fast.
Crazy fast.
So, a couple of quick notes before we fly today. And what we're gonna do is we'll probably go ahead and capture this and put it at the very end before the build and radio setup, which is real simple because this is a bind and fly, guys. I didn't have to actually do any setup. I just opened it up, put the 4 AA batteries that are included, and then this does, as a ready to fly, come with the 2200 milliamp 3S pack. That's a smart pack. And yes, you do have all that telemetry and everything that's driving this functionality, like these lights and everything. It's all built in. So if you use a bind and fly, also you'll notice the handle is this recess. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of that. It does make for a much trimmer package, which is nice for storage. So if you're gonna throw this in your truck or your car and just take it somewhere, the 1.2 meter size is a great size. Obviously built-in vortex generators. The landing assist sensor plug, I hate it because it will come out easy. I can tell you that now before we even fly it. I have flown the S Plus. See, it's kind of like a spring-loaded doohickey. I have a really hard time believing that's gonna stay in there. I do have the landing assist sensor that's supposed to help with flare when you come down for a landing to make a really good landing. I don't know if beginners need it, but at any rate, I've got this. It's got safe, great beginner plane. We're gonna show you just how good it is, or you just watched it actually. So stick around for the build, the unbox build and radio setup. Thanks for watching. YouTube, we're flying this thing. The weather conditions are relatively crazy hot, and you'll notice we have just a little bit of wind from the windsock. This plane will fly in generally good conditions. If it's really bad, you may wanna hold off, but the 1.2 meters got plenty of power. So throttle cuts off. We have a light that tells us how much power we have left on the transmitter, so we're gonna go ahead and take off, and hopefully we don't have trouble seeing it in the sun.
Yeah.
So without further ado, a little bit of taxi. We are in beginner mode. Watch how hard this is, guys. There it is. A little bit of trim needed on the rudder. Boy, that thing is rock solid. It's windy. About 60% throttle there. This is just moving the elevator, or excuse me, moving the ailerons. As you can see, it limits your bank angles, but it keeps you pretty much going level, okay? So out of the throttle altogether, watch how good it glides. I'm still in safe, not even really telling it anything, just kind of turning it around. Man, that thing looks gorgeous. Okay, we're gonna fly some into experienced, just to show you it can do it. We are currently in high rates. Oh yes, this thing is gorgeous. AS3X is gorgeous. Man, I want flaps so bad on this thing right now.
Took less than 2 minutes.
As you can see, it's very windy. Got a little bit of trimming I need to do on my rudder. Okay, let's bring it around. Camera crew right on the corner of the seam of the driveway there, if you could. Man, that thing is a striking look. "100% throttle if you can't tell, guys. Need a little bit of elevator trim and a little bit of rudder trim. Okay, I think we might be getting close. Man, that thing looks good up against the green, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's cool.
So this is a Carbon Cub, which is a Carbon Cub Super Sport, or SS. It's modeled after a real plane. Yes, you can go buy one of these. Set you back about 200 grand by the time you get some avionics in it. But on this one, you're only a couple $100 into it, ready to fly. And that comes with charger, battery, transmitter, everything. Man, we were like stalling like crazy there. There must be a crazy, crazy pressure system coming off the top of the house. As you can see, we landed in grass. We'll do a little taxi in the grass here. This grass it was cut at 2.5 inches about 3 days ago. That was a bug? Okay, going back into beginner, just to show you how well this thing flies. Whoa! Man, that thing got kicked by the wind. Did you see it?
No, because I was looking at the camera.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, let's do this again. I'm just using the rudder. Now remember, when you're flying this thing, I'm gliding right now, okay? So I'm just letting wind do its thing, and I'm just kind of guiding it in. All I did at the end was just pull up on the elevator to keep the prop from hitting the ground. Full up on the elevator and just let her get in the air. And look at this thing. Man, the safe keeps it nice and level. So as soon as you get off, whoa! Oh man, that was a high-speed stall. Did you see that, camera crew?
Was that wind?
That was wind in combination with low speed and making the turn too sharp. Let's do it again. Let's go up a few mistakes high. Okay, we're up a few mistakes high. Let's see if we can replicate it. Okay, real slow. And then even with safe, I was just closer to the ground, I think.
Yeah.
Because you guys got to remember something. When you're flying a plane, it doesn't matter what autopilot, what flight controller you're using. It doesn't matter if it's safe or if it's some sort of a knockoff like Lemon or whatever. You have to keep moving. Man, that thing looks so gorgeous. Okay, intermediate here for a minute. We'll just kind of see what it looks like. Can you see over top of me?
Mm-hmm.
So still limited bank angles, but when I let go of the sticks, it doesn't recover. So in my opinion, intermediate is kind of like a recipe for disaster. Just either be in full control or being safe. But I think intermediate is a horrible place to be because limited bank angles just causes you to get into tight spots that you can't get out of, guys. You got to stay in the power on this plane a little bit. You know what I didn't do?
What?
I'm kind of embarrassed. I didn't check the CG. So 62 to 68 millimeters back is actually already got a mold point in the bottom of the wing. So it's from the front edge of that little square rectangular opening to about the middle point of that rectangular opening.
We
Now,
talked about it and then we checked battery voltage.
Yeah, that's true. I need you on the grass, please. Thank you. Perfect. So as you can see, we have plenty of power to do what needs to be done. But the thing is, on a plane like this, I am so desperately wanting the flaps because then I can slow it down. And when I say slow it down, I mean slow it down without losing it. You can tell they've set up a lot of expo on this control because I'm moving the sticks really far to get it to do what I want it to do. Definitely feels solid. And this is on the DXS, which is a, for lack of better terms, an economy transmitter, okay guys? But I'm very impressed with the features that are installed in this plane. Stock. I'm gonna go in front of the house this time.
Okay.
In front of us, you good?
Yep. Compared to a lot of economy transmitters we've seen, it's really nice.
It's nice.
Can you see your green lights?
I don't know. I'm kind of flying. I'm at one line. I'm at one light. I don't know what that means, so we should probably land. Let's go into beginner. Okay, and I'll just see if we can kind of film both there, camera crew. I gotta go around. I took that too hot.
Here, okay. I'm in.
Okay, here we go.
I can see both now.
So I'm just using the rudder to kind of point it, and I'm just on the elevator in case I need to pull up. So there it is. I mean, that was, I don't like it. I want to do it again. I'm not saying it was a bad, it wasn't a bad landing. It's just that I feel like it could do better. And I think part of it is that I have a little bit of rudder trim still in there. And normally you don't trim your models in safe, guys. You want to trim them in expert. There we go. Okay, I'm going to go back around, put it in beginner. Here's beginner. Okay, we're going to try this again. So I'm just going to use one hand just so that I can show you that the plane is doing everything. All I'm doing is just kind of using the rudder to point it where I want it. Okay? So as you can see, it's not as pretty as if you were really flying it. So I'm going to do an expert takeoff here. Condell, we're probably getting a little bit low on juice. Okay, let's bring it around into beginner. Just zigzagging to take up lots of airspace. And she likes to bounce. But that's okay. Okay, I'm gonna go a nice gentle flight under the lines. So we're probably getting close to low voltage warning, so of course I go the longest route. I want to demonstrate low voltage warning for you folks. We're in beginner still. I'm gonna go to expert so I can wear out the battery a little bit. I want you to hear what the low voltage warning sounds like. Oh, bird,
Whoa.
bird. It's gonna low voltage warn me, I'm sure of it. Okay, just so you guys can see how big this bird is. This is a 1.2 meter plane, and I'm not even close to the altitude of that plane, of that bird.
It's like a 1.2 meter bird.
There's two of them up there.
Yep.
On either side. If I was a real YouTube reviewer, I would shut the radio off right now, but I'm not gonna do that. So I'm an expert right now. You see how I'm just high alphaing, if you wanna call it that. I'm flaring the plane. I'm gonna go to beginner. Look how well this does. Look how much ground I've covered, and yet I could probably land it close to our feet from where we must have been at least a couple hundred feet up. Think we thermal off the top of that tree line a little bit there. Okay, so we're gonna try this kind of again. So now you'll notice I'm way the heck up there, and I'm just gonna basically kind of move sticks in the same direction to do the coordinated turns. But I'm pulling the stick back on the elevator so that I can bleed off a lot of that forward momentum. Safe is gonna keep me from stalling to a certain extent, because really I'm just controlling the stall. You just wanna keep those wings from falling over flat on themselves, like that. So, throttle cuts on, tested. Let's go look. Oh, actually, I take it back. There's a flashing light. I noticed the flashing just now.
Oh.
So that means we still have a little bit more. What popped off, hon?
Wheel pants.
Oh, both?
Both of them?
Yeah, that's crazy. See, they both came off. I told you that would pop off fast. Well, let's see if we can go inside and do this for a second, then we'll keep flying some more. Because it's like 1,000,000 degrees out here.
Okay.
Okay, so these things clip on here. And you'll notice with that rough landing, it broke the forward-facing fingers on there, but it won't matter. You can also throw a zip tie through those. See how one of those broke off there? Mm-hmm. So the way this works is really pretty easy. You just snap that in there like that. And then when they start breaking off like that, which will happen quicker than you want to admit, then you can throw a zip tie through and it'll hold it on. Okay, so we're gonna go keep flying. I didn't realize that we were just flashing there.
So it must do that before it goes to the next one, because I looked while I was filming and it was solid, like I could tell.
Okay.
So they must
switch to flashing before they're ready.
Before they go to the next.
Flashing means between steps.
Yeah.
Thank you, camera crew. Okay, so continue flying. Let's do a relatively short field takeoff here. As you know, I don't have flaps on this. You may need to be on the steps probably.
Okay.
So throttle cuts off.
Hold on. Okay.
You good?
Yeah.
Do you have a little too much to drink there? So I'm off. In expert mode again. I was taking off from basic. Most of you guys are not gonna fly around trees like that when you're just learning to fly. That would be foolishness. Some even consider it foolishness for somebody that knows what they're doing. That's usually about the time I crash into the trees, folks.
At least it's our tree.
It is our tree. Man, that thing looks gorgeous, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's cool.
I'm trying to hit the thermal off of the trees. That's so cool. Okay, so we're gonna take a couple landings in expert and see if I can get them in nicely. A little bit better, except for the giant bounce and horrible overall performance. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna fly out. The wind is very strong right now. So normally this type of plane, I'd be flying with flaps for sure. So I'm just slipping, meaning that I'm using, see, really nice in the grass, real nice, relaxed, no excitement, plenty of power to get out of the grass. That's one thing you do run into on these planes is if you have grass. That's fescue grass, in case you guys are familiar with the different types of grass. It's not like a Kentucky blue with real thin blades. Okay, so coming out of the throttle, when you get into the ground effect, it's gonna wanna loft on you. And you can put it down nicely. Oh, you see my one wheel pant or fairing is flipped forward. That's all right, it's all part of the show. So I wanna show you guys a panic recovery real quick. Panic recovery on this transmitter it's up here, okay? There you go. And it's gonna keep on for a second. Get the plane flying. There's panic recovery. Nice. Very nice. The panic recovery is a good thing to have. Panic recovery. Just remember, if you recover a panic, it's going to go to the direction of the heading you were going at. Some people will cheat and use panic recovery when they're getting ready to touch down on the ground. That's definitely something you can do. So watch this. Panic recovery, awesome. See how nice and flat and level and true it gets? And you can hold that panic button all along. You can hold it the whole time you're flying if you want, if you really want to make your life difficult. Ooh, I feel like I'm maybe getting a little bit low. I'm on to the last dot of 4.
That's a good flight time.
Really good flight time. Whoa, just lost my pants. Oh man, they fall off all the time. If anybody had the original Carbon Cub S Plus, GPS Plus, whatever the heck they called it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Pants flying off left and right. It's like anniversary weekend time. By the way, in case you didn't hear it yet, it is our anniversary yesterday, so all sorts of fun. 16 years of pure bliss for my camera crew.
That's right. Got all choked up there.
Yeah. Do we need to get you tested for COVID?
If only, no. Can I be quarantined for 2 weeks?
Not for me.
Oh, then no, I'm fine.
Oh, that's my beeper. Oh. It just beeped at me. It's giving me a warning. So typically, guys, you want to fly not upside down when on low voltage warning. I made it!
Jeez. Sorry for your eardrums, people.
It won't be as bad. It won't be as bad as before.
Whatever. Can't even see it.
Throttle cuts on.
On the screen.
Okay, so I have a flashing light here.
Wait, hold for the people. Okay, I see it.
So that's when I got my first chime. It says red because I'm inexperienced. It says green because I'm in beginner. And the only casualty of that ridiculous flight was I bent back my landing gear. Camera crew, please hold.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
I don't like that. Okay.
The handle's kind of nice, isn't it? Hmm. Gives you something to hang on to.
Integrated handle is. What are you doing with your pants?
I'm straightening. That's not a. That's. These are the landing gear. I'm just straightening them because they got bent back a little bit.
Yeah.
Anybody who's had this plane already knows that that's going to be a dilemma. They tend to get bent back when you have a nasty landing. And when I did that full safe landing, and I didn't flare at all and didn't have any airspeed, don't chop your throttle to nothing, guys. It will not serve your interests well.
You got grass in your nose too.
I know. I kind of want to fly again. I want to take off again. You think I can with low voltage?
I'm sure you will.
Okay, here goes nothing. Don't do that at home, guys. I'm in beginner. I'm in beginner. Okay, making a turn here. I'm just gonna put the throttle, instead of 0, I'm gonna go to like, just barely moved up. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna help it's gonna help, I can't even do it because it's so efficient. Okay, that's our low voltage warning at the absolute worst possible time as usual. I am going to use every last drop of energy to get to the other end of the airfield. And I'm gonna turn around. And I'm gonna land it right now because that's my only choice. Seriously, guys, this is not just for the YouTube channel. This is like for real deal. Yay! And that was me plus safe landing the plane. Throttle cut is on. Let's go look at the pants. Or the fairing, if you will. The fairing is right here on the ground. Looks like it's no more broken than it was the first time. This is what we lost, guys, just those little clips there.
Yep.
So what we'll probably do is we will pause and we will fix this just to show you how to do it. All right, guys, so I use just run-of-the-mill zip ties. The smaller, the better. This one here in particular is extra short and thin. So you can see I did this one side. All I did was just pass it through and then just zip tied it to itself. Yeah. So you can kind of see what I did there. It's real simple. And then like on this other side, I'll just show you how I did it. I mean, it's not really hard. This side's gonna get broken after a few rough landings, and I'll have a lot of rough landings with this plane just because I'll screw around with it constantly. So you just feed that through, and then you just kind of feed that through. And you can open up the pocket a little bit or use a drill. And if you drill 2 small holes, you can make it even cleaner. But I just know these clips aren't bound to last very long. I know that Esteban and he had a Sport Cub, the original Sport Cub.
You just need to break.
I'm just gonna break it.
Off.
I'm just gonna break it off because it's not gonna work anyway.
No.
It's all right. This is such a minor detail. This is the first thing you guys are gonna lose on this plane, and you're never gonna care anymore about it. If you tie it too high like this, you'll have more problems with it digging into the foam. So just get it down here. And that's what I did, and I've had pretty good luck with it. So you just feed it around and feed it back through.
They make silver zip ties or gray.
Yeah,
they really cared.
They make other colors. Well, I mean, if you really cared, you'd probably just take a drill and spend 10 seconds and drill 2 small holes right where you want them, which would flank this, and it would work even nicer. But I just want the quickest, dirtiest solution that requires the least tools so I can share it with the people watching this channel. Because if you're new to flying, you don't want to have to require a bunch of strange tricks. Now, the other thing that does is that it makes this gap a little bit bigger here. That gap is good because when you do have a rough landing, and believe me, you will, especially if you're depending on safe all the time and you fly in horrible conditions like I was just flying in, these things are going to splay out. And eventually they're gonna bend back a little bit. And yeah, see, it's already starting to gouge. That's normal. You're gonna have that. But this plane, okay, so final thoughts. By the way, that noise, okay, so that's like an inactivity warning. See, it goes from red and like some sort of doomsday noise to running like usual. So now let's show the people how long we actually abuse this battery for, because the battery is, you know, I think we probably went completely to the bottom of the range in the battery. And plus this helps people to know where the low voltage warning is gonna kick in. Okay. All right, so throttle cut is on. Don't even have to unplug it from the machine, but I'm gonna. I had my battery all the way forward. Actually, let's talk about CG for a minute.
Yeah.
Let's just plug that back in. Let's watch the people, let the people watch the startup procedure. My radio is on, throttle cut's on. Okay, so the light is off. It's in red, and now it's doing a little dance with that. And once it gets everything initiated, it goes ahead and straightens out. So there is a lot of feedback. It's warning me that the battery is low. So that's good.
Must be really low.
Yeah, whatever. I guess it's low. So let's check CG. CG is here. 68 millimeters to 62. So 62 is here, 68's in the middle. So if you just reach and feel the front of that, CG is perfect.
Well, that's good.
So I had it, if anything, you want your 2200 milliamp battery that comes with it all the way forward. And in my experience, when we were flying the regular, it was the Super Cub at the time. It wasn't the Carbon Cub. It was not the Super Cub. It was what's the Super Cub?
I don't remember.
Esteban's the red and white one. It was a Super Cub. Anyway, it predated the Carbon Cub S Plus GPS, which is the one that was version 1 of this, okay? Then this one is version 2, which includes the possibility for the ground sensor and the optional now GPS sensor, okay? That one on a 2200 was a little bit too heavy. Like we wanted to fly around 1300 milliamp hour range. So if you're really new to this, the 2200 will get you up and it'll fly you for a long time. But if you want an even more relaxed experience, you can go for a smaller pack. And I'm gonna tell you, on this plane, I was just telling my camera crew off camera, I said this plane needs flaps because flaps will help you to slow it down. And I'm gonna be doing flaps. I'll record that. We'll show a video of how to do it. It's really easy. And you can copy along. What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna pull this battery out now. We'll use one of the coolest smart features around, the XBC 100 Smart Checker. And of course the exposure is gonna immediately be horrible. Oh, jeez.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Yeah, 3.26 volts. So I brought it way down. You'll notice I did not plug in my balance charge lead. So when you plug that in, then you get full capability of all the stuff. But I just wanted,
Wait, hold. There you go.
but I just wanted to show the people at home that when you have your balance charge, your balance port unplugged, you still get a lot of that data carried through the data line. So let's go ahead and let that one cool down because it's hot. We're probably not gonna fly again right now because it was just so windy and it's incredibly hot. We're gonna wait for twilight, and if all goes to plan, maybe we can go ahead and get the flap servo installed before we do our next flight. But for now, that will follow in the playlist. If you don't know about our channel yet, we have playlists that are organized by airplanes. So if you like this Boeing 737 MAX 9, we have a playlist for it. If you like this Turbo Timber UMX, awesome plane, we have a playlist for it. If you like this Horizon Hobby UMX Cessna Citation Longitude, we have a playlist for it. If you like the MO2JJ RC MO2, we have a playlist for it. We do playlists for everything. Some of our newer stuff, we start with the flight, then we do an unbox, build, and radio setup if necessary. If it's a bind and fly, this was a ready to fly, so we didn't have much radio setup. But obviously, if we were gonna be flying this on a radio like this DX18, it's programmable, then I would actually go through and show you how to make this transmitter fly that plane. And you can do that. And I have something of 80 planes in here. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that.
Whoops. Yeah, we have '81.
Plus
have
you have about
81 planes on this transmitter, and then I have probably another 35, 40 planes that are in a ready to fly configuration. So we have a lot of those on there. Some videos, here's another one. We just got done doing this one the other day, Crescendo Evolution. That's a 3rd generation plane that's been upgraded. Now we're on 4S. When it started, it was 2S, which is 2 cells in series. Now we're up to 4S, and it's incredible. New prop, more dense wings. I mean, these things have come so far, and it's just incredible the stuff you can do with this technology and how relatively inexpensive it is compared to when we first started playing around with this stuff, right? So without further ado, stick around. We're gonna have a quick intro that talks about some of the features, and then we're gonna jump straight into the unbox, build and radio setup. Thanks for watching, guys.